Chapter 361, Ghosts Haunting. Even though conflict with the Great Witch country was inevitable for Qin Luan, Zhongli did not believe Qin Luan would lose. After all, Qin Luan and Yuan Wuxing were both people Zhongli had high hopes for, and he was quite confident in his own judgment. Zhongli quickly handled the reports from the guards. Now the Imperial Palace has much fewer matters to deal with than before. Zhongli still remembered more than 400 years ago, when he first came to the Imperial Palace, and saw the leader Lu and the old emperor dealing various matters reported by the guards, their faces weary and anxious. There were disputes here, demon cultivators appeared there, and some areas did not obey the commands of the Imperial Palace. Most of these issues arose because many forces were openly supporting the Imperial Palace while secretly disobedient, such as the Heavenly Secret Pavilion. After Zhongli reached the Mahayana realm, he paid a visit to these forces one by one, politely asking them to behave. Knowing that the present human emperor had achieved the Mahayana realm against the natural order of things and then was visited by Zhongli, these forces immediately expressed their absolute commitment to the principles of the Imperial Palace. They understood fully well that Zhongli being polite was just the first step. If they did not learn their lesson, Zhongli would take the second step and let them experience the true power of the Mahayana realm. Since then, the affairs the Imperial Palace had to handle dramatically reduced, and Zhongli felt at peace letting Lu reside over the Imperial Palace. 2 days passed, and the bored Zhongli was playing rock-paper-scissors with his own reflection in the mirror. Unfortunately, it was a constant draw. It would have been fun if he could win even once against the mirror, or the mirror could win once against him. The affairs handled by the Imperial Palace were much fewer than 400 years ago. There's a matter that requires your judgment, Hall Master. A guard stood straight, aiming to leave a good impression on Zhongli. Speak. Some countries claim that ghosts have appeared within their territories, and the guards stationed in those countries also report that there indeed seem to be things resembling ghosts. However, they are currently unsure of the nature of these ghosts, and so far, no harm or injuries caused by ghosts have been reported. Zhongli put away his mirror and sat up straight, his posture more regulated. This matter sounded serious. There were endless folktales about ghosts, such as avenging fierce ghosts, unfinished love affairs between humans and ghosts, and so on. When he first arrived, Zhongli understood nothing and thought these folktales were real, just because he hadn't seen a ghost due to his lesser cultivation and limited exposure. However, with his significantly expanded knowledge and repeated reading of the classics left behind by immortals, and after hearing about the workings of reincarnation in the underworld from long-existing immortals and old Buddha, he no longer believed that ghosts existed in the human world. After death, souls automatically enter the underworld and do not stay in the human world for cultivation. Only the underworld contains ghosts. The words of the long-existing immortal could be quoted, "This is the law of the operation of heaven and earth and cannot be violated. This is as true as 1 + 1 = 2, 2 + 2 = 4, foundation establishment follows building a golden core, and nascent soul occurs after the golden core. These unchanging laws make up the foundation of the world. If they were to change, it would cause chaos across heaven and earth." Zhongli rolled out the map of the 9 provinces. "Tell me, where have ghosts appeared?" The guard stepped forward and pointed out the places where ghosts had been sighted. Great Zhou, Tianyuan, Dream River, Great Way, so many places. Zhongli was surprised. It would be understandable if a cultivator's mysterious abilities were mistaken for a ghost. But 6 out of the 9 empires claimed the presence of ghosts, and their stationed guards also reported the same. This issue seemed more complicated than he had thought. The 9 empires represented not only power, but also heritage. With their knowledge, they wouldn't act like naive cultivators who get fearful at the sight of shadows, mistaking them for ghosts. The report described an entity that couldn't be seen either visually or with divine sense, but a voice from their hearts continuously told them, look back, there's something behind you." This feeling was especially strong at night, passing by a graveyard. And this was not the experience of nascent cultivators in Qi cultivation stage but of God transformation stage cultivators. Zhongli even saw pictures drawn by guards who claimed to have seen ghosts, vague white figures, as if they could dissolve into the air at any moment. Zhongli frowned. This thing really did seem like a ghost. He wrote a command and handed it to the guard. "Take 30 people with you to these places, connect with the local countries, tell them it's my command, and request cooperation in the investigation to see if we can find any clues." Zhongli used the remote communication talisman to contact Huang, the captain who liked to wallow in self-pity, giving him something to do. "You're the closest to the Dream River dynasty, go there and investigate. Report any findings to me." "Yes." Huang was excited, feeling trusted with an important task. Hall Master, I have returned. Lu, the captain, was energetic, as if rejuvenated, his face even becoming younger due to his good mood. He went from looking old to middle-aged. Great timing, continue presiding over the Imperial Palace. I'm going to Great Zhou for a look. Zhang Li left. The Dream River Dynasty was the westernmost empire in Kyushu. He let Huang take responsibility while the Great Zhou Empire was the easternmost, hence, he wanted to examine the situation personally. Lu was very adept at settling into Zhang Li's position. After Zhang Li left, another enthusiastic guard rushed into the hall. Hall Master, there's a matter. Captain Lu, how are you back so soon? The guard looked disappointed. Captain Lu, it seems that you, young man, don't want your salary anymore. According to the locations marked on the map by the guard, Zhang Li arrived at Anyang City of Great Zhou. The officials of Anyang City had reported multiple times that there was a possible ghost in Anyang City. Zhang Li extended his divine sense but could not find any ghost. However, he did meet a familiar person in the city courthouse. A symbol of Great Zhou's legal code, the body integration realm cultivator Duping. Duping, what trouble have you gotten into this time? The lord of Anyang City was speechless. He had risen from the depths of Anyang City's prison, and Duping had been detained in Anyang City for a while, hence the two were acquainted. Word was that as long as Duping did not break the law in the next 50 years, Zhang Li would allow him to join the Imperial Palace. The fact that Duping dared to break the law again demonstrated his disregard for Zhang Li's goodwill. This is outright slander. For the first time, Duping did not admit to breaking the law, displaying an unusually firm attitude. I understand you wish to join the Imperial Palace. But this is not a reason for you to deny your wrongdoing. The facts are clear, your denial wouldn't change them. I, Duping, dare to take responsibility for my actions. If I have done something, I will admit it, if not, I won't. Now they are saying I harassed a woman while drunk, I would never do such a thing. Duping pointed at the witnesses nearby. These people all said that he drank a lot of alcohol last night and harassed a woman while he was not in his right mind. Duping might not remember what he did when he was drunk, but he knew he wasn't that kind of person, so he firmly denied the events of last night. He had broken the law nearly 1,000 times and had a criminal record taller than him, but he had never harassed a woman. After drinking, I, Duping, only strip my clothes and behave rudely, but never harass women. Duping declared proudly. The Lord of Anyang City didn't understand what Duping was so proud of. Chapter 362, Restoring the Scene. Moreover, there's only a witness now, no victim. This doesn't form an evidence chain, so you can't determine my guilt. Duping's understanding of the law makes him a force to be reckoned with in Zhou dynasty. If not for Duping's questionable reputation, the Justice Supreme Minister would even wish to invite him to write a textbook on law. The Lord of Anyang City felt helpless. Since Duping denied the charges, his only option was to contact the court and ask His Majesty to send someone from the royal family for time regression. Calculating the time, they should be arriving soon. Duping, what happened this time? Zhang Li descended. Greetings to the human emperor. The officials all bowed when they saw Zhang Li. Please defend me. Ever since you proposed the condition for me to join the human emperor's court, I've made up my mind to become the leader of the imperial palace. I've even reduced the frequency of my drinking. Duping cried in justice. The Lord of Anyang City said, I can confirm that, previously Duping had been drinking 4 times every 3 days, each time, he would consume an entire jug. Now, he only drinks once every 3 days. Zhang Li was curious, how much does he drink each time? 4 jugs. Zhang Li felt like Duping was bound to break the law sooner or later. Come on, tell me what happened today. The Lord of Anyang City began to explain, this is what happened. Late last night, we received a report stating that Duping stumbled out of the tavern after drinking, encountered a lady in white on the roadside, and lunged at her. The lady in white let out a sharp shriek, and hastily fled while Duping intended to pursue her. However, he fell asleep due to the effects of the alcohol. These people, the tavern owner, the drinkers, the neighbors, all can confirm the events. These people were very excited to see Zhang Li. What I said is true, Duping really lunged at the lady in white. I heard the woman's shriek, it was quite horrifying. Unfortunately, we couldn't find the lady in white, otherwise we could definitely prove Duping's actions. Zhang Li didn't want to play detective, it was too brain-consuming, leave this matter to the professionals to judge. Your Honor, the 19th princess has arrived. The Lord of Anyang City hurried out to greet her. 19th princess. The 19th princess, with a smile on her lips, nodded gracefully. Suddenly, she saw Zhongli out of the corner of her eye and was overjoyed. Princess Ji Kongkong, the 19th princess, had grown into a beautiful and confident young woman after a few years. The only thing was that her chest was marginally smaller than her peers of the same age. Many young men were attracted by Ji Kongkong's beauty and intelligence and hoped that Ji would marry her off to them. Ji didn't give them the time of day. Ji Kongkong was highly talented in cultivation, now she had even reached the nascent soul stage, which was much faster than Qin Luan. Uncle Zhong, Princess Ji Kongkong ran up to Zhongli as soon as she saw him. Now that Ji Kongkong had grown up, she was too shy to throw herself into Zhongli's arms like before. Oh, it's Kongkong, it's been a long time. You've become quite a mature young lady. Zhongli smiled proudly. The fact that Ji had sent Ji Kongkong here alone without any other royal family members accompanying her meant that her journey through time no longer required guidance from others. Uncle Zhong, why are you here? Ji Kongkong was surprised to see Zhongli here. I heard there's a ghost here and came to see the excitement. Uncle Zhong, you're always joking. Ji Kongkong thought Zhongli was joking and didn't take it seriously. The Lord of Anyang City repeated the case once again, and Ji Kongkong felt there was something fishy about this incident. As time came to a standstill, Ji Kongkong stepped into the river of time, then returned to the state of Jojo. The entire process didn't even take an instant. How was it? Du Ping was hoping that Ji Kongkong would justify him. Ji Kongkong's brows were furrowed as she remained silent. She projected the scenes that she had witnessed in the river of time into the air using her divine sense. At midnight, outside a small tavern, Du Ping passed by the small tavern, couldn't resist the aroma of the liquor and was invited by the patrons. Du Ping, come drink with us. No, I'm quitting. Today is the 3rd day since I decided to give up drinking. The patrons were relentless. Ah, you've already abstained for 3 days, you should reward yourself. All right, Du Ping was persuaded by the drinkers. After downing 4 jugs of wine, Du Ping let out a belch. This is the last time, I'll quit drinking from tomorrow. The patrons and the tavern owner just shook their heads laughing heartily. Every time, Du Ping would say the same, but he never managed to make it past the 4th day. Are you all right? Can you make it home? The regulars remembered that Du Ping had a tendency to fall asleep on the road after drinking. No problem, I didn't drink much. Du Ping waved his hands, indicating that he was fine. Then why are you talking to the pillar? Du Ping didn't say anything else, he just wobbled forward. Out of nowhere, a white silhouette appeared in the distance, seeming to materialize out of thin air. The white silhouette seemed hazy, like a wisp of smoke, extremely unstable. Du Ping's eyes shifted as if he saw something odd, and he lunged at the white silhouette. The white silhouette, upon seeing Du Ping's aggressive advance, let out a sharp scream, a horrifying sound, and then disappeared, leaving Du Ping to lunge into the air. Du Ping tripped and promptly fell to the ground, snoring loudly. People living on the 2nd floor saw the scene and reported Du Ping for public harassment of a woman. What is that thing? The witnesses didn't understand what the white silhouette was. Ji Kongkong blushed. This is what I saw. Even with my keen sight, I couldn't tell how the white silhouette appeared and disappeared. This is the scenario I saw in the river of time. If Uncle Zhong could also go to the river of time, he might see more. I suspect it's a ghost. The Lord of Anyang City looked grave. He had received several reports of citizens claiming to have seen ghosts, and their descriptions were eerily similar. He had also encountered similar situations himself and it scared him out of his wits. He was a god-transforming stage cultivator, and the fact that the other party could appear and vanish without his notice left him with some lingering fear. He could see it clearly with his eyes, but when he opened his divine sense, it showed that there was nothing there. The city lord of Anyang felt that there was something uncanny about this and felt a chill run down his spine, and hence reported it up the chain of command. The court, having received similar reports from all over the kingdom but unable to decide what to do, contacted the Human Emperor Palace Guard. The guards reported it to the Human Emperor's palace. It could be a ghost. Zhongli also believed that the white silhouette was a ghost. The way the white silhouette appeared and vanished was against natural law, and it didn't look like a result of a cultivation technique. But how could ghosts appear in Jojo? Aren't all the ghosts in the underworld? Ji Kongkong, looking scared as the two talked seriously, quietly moved closer to Zhongli to feel more secure. She always liked listening to stories from Zhongli and her greatest fear was ghost stories. So, Du Ping is accused of harassing a female ghost. The city lord of Anyang hasn't forgotten why he asked Ji Kongkong to come here. The city lord of Anyang was a bit confused. The law of Zhou dynasty clearly states that harassment of women includes female human beings and female demons, but it seems that ghosts were not listed as protected entities. Should they interpret it more broadly and extend the concept of women to include ghosts? Du Ping glared at the city lord of Anyang. Clearly, he was determined to stick Du Ping with a crime today. Chapter 363, There really are ghosts. City Lord, you have gone too far. Ji Kongkong glanced at the city lord of Anyang City, her tone dull, showing no trace of the fear she had just experienced. Despite appearances, Du Ping did not have any intention of harassing women last night. As a cultivator in the body integration realm, he simply wished to inspect the suspected ghost-like white figure. The city lord of Anyang City could not have failed to see this. If he insisted on accusing Du Ping of harassing women, it could only mean he wanted to use Du Ping as a merit. The city lord of Anyang City was drenched in cold sweat, realizing that the 19th princess was warning him. There was not even a suspicion of a crime, let alone evidence that pointed towards Du Ping's favor. Du Ping cleared his name and left the yamen unscathed. Zhang Li saw Ji Kongkong still trembling and couldn't help but laugh. Looking at how you warned the city lord of Anyang City just now, I thought you were no longer afraid of ghosts. After leaving the yamen, Ji Kongkong regained her fearful demeanor, her hands trembling, still clearly terrified of the ghost. Thank you, the 19th princess, for upholding justice. Seeing the restoration of last night's scene, Du Ping started to recall. After he had seen the white figure last night, he felt that she was not normal, somewhat eerie, and he wanted to catch and take a closer look. But the white figure screamed when she saw him and ran away. It's my duty. Ji Kongkong deliberately remained calm, not wanting Zhang Li to see her shameful side. However, thinking of the ghost from last night, she couldn't help being scared. In that case, I can't take you with me to find the ghost. No, I want to go. Aren't you afraid of ghosts? I am, but I'm also curious. Seeing Ji Kongkong's condition, Zhang Li thought of those people from his past life who were afraid of horror films, yet loved watching them. Human Emperor, can you bring me along? Du Ping also found this interesting and wanted to know what was really going on with the ghost. As a cultivator in the body integration realm, he also knew that ghosts should not appear in JoJo. There must be something behind this. Sure, at the dead of night, the three of them were sitting in a small tavern, listening to Ji Kongkong recount her experiences over the years. In fact, there was really nothing to listen to. It was all about how she mastered the Tao of Time, how talented she was in cultivation, and how she had already become a nascent soul stage cultivator when her peers were still struggling in the foundation establishment stage. It's a pity I was a year late to become a nascent soul stage cultivator compared to Buddha Wuji who achieved it at 14. Ji Kongkong regretted that she was already 15 when she reached the nascent soul stage, failing to break the record for the youngest in this stage. Du Ping thought about how he was already in his 30s when he reached the nascent soul stage, which was far later than Ji Kongkong. Breaking through the Qi cultivation stage at 15 was quite an achievement compared to me who was only at the 5th level of Qi cultivation at 15, and didn't become a nascent soul stage cultivator until my 20s. It's just the human emperor being modest. You, like Buddha Wuji, became a nascent soul stage cultivator at 14. But because some people were jealous of your talents, they sealed your cultivation, which led to you being only at the 5th level of Qi cultivation at 15, and thus being mocked by your own people. How come I didn't know this? Zhang Li was speechless, wondering where Du Ping had heard this story. In the storytelling, The Legend of Zhang the Human Emperor, it tells the story very clearly. Noticing an unusual expression on everyone's faces, Du Ping cautiously asked, is the story from The Legend of Zhang the Human Emperor incorrect? Zhang Li had heard a few versions of The Legend of Zhang the Human Emperor, and none of them mentioned what Du Ping had narrated. He reasoned that Du Ping must have heard another version. After all, none of these stories recorded his real experiences. Ji Kongkong corrected him. Of course it's not right. Zhang, you were born with immortal bones. Your power cannot be measured by levels. However, your body couldn't withstand the power of the immortal bones. A powerful being stepped in to seal the immortal bones, letting you gradually unseal them. Which version of The Legend of Zhang the Human Emperor is this? Zhang Li could not help but feel helpless. People thought he was so powerful that it was beyond normal comprehension, and thus spun many bizarre stories about him to give a reasonable explanation to his power. Zhang Li had also heard that he was the reincarnation of an immortal emperor, sent to the mortal world for training, and that he transcended time and reincarnation, 3 lives combined into one. The power of his past, current, and future lives remained constant and singular. Each time Zhang Li listened to The Legend of Zhang the Human Emperor, he would hear new content which was quite enlightening. He didn't even know he had done all those things. Who can tell that he was a Mahayana realm cultivator who believed to appear only once in 10,000 years? It's here, Du Ping suddenly announced, abruptly standing up and running out the door. He had his divine sense covering the whole of Anyang City, waiting for the ghost to appear. Du Ping saw a woman in white kneeling on the ground at the same spot as last night, her hands clasped together murmuring words such as, next life, and, rebirth. It's you. Du Ping was about to pounce, but was caught by Zhang Li by the collar and pulled back. Look carefully, this is a living person. Zhang Li pointed at the woman in white. She was simply burning paper. May I ask what you are doing? Ji Kongkong squatted down and kindly asked. To her surprise, Ji Kongkong found out that the woman was a golden core stage cultivator, but her appearance was aged, as if she had been struck by something. I'm offering to my child. The woman in white looked sad. My name is Qi Ming. 50 years ago to this day, my enemies found me and killed my daughter Xiaofeng right here. Although the enemy has been punished, my child will never come back. Every year on this day I come here to offer to my daughter, hoping she will have a good afterlife. She was just 16 years old, a time to enjoy life. How could she just go? Even though 50 years had passed, every time Qi Ming thought of it, she was still heartbroken and couldn't help crying. Ji Kongkong sympathetically patted Qi Ming's back. It's here, Zhang Li suddenly announced, his divine sense constantly covering Anyang City and the surrounding suburbs. It's around midnight, just as reported. The report claimed that suspected ghost-like entities started appearing around Zhou half a month ago, mostly around midnight. They liked quiet environments and were afraid of strangers. There have been no injuries so far. How come I didn't notice? Du Ping was surprised. He also had his divine sense covering Anyang City but found nothing. However, now was not the time to get into the details. Du Ping and Ji Kongkong quickly followed Zhang Li's pace and arrived at the suburb cemetery. Seeing the scenes at the cemetery, Ji Kongkong grabbed Zhang Li's sleeve and hid behind him. Ghosts started to appear shadowy in the cemetery, vaguely visible. Ji Kongkong and Du Ping tried their best to use their divine sense, but to no avail. They could clearly see them with their eyes. They must be ghosts, without a doubt. Zhang Li gave a definite answer. He had seen the black and white impermanents, two ghost officials, before. The shadowy ghosts in front of them had similar physiques to the black and white impermanents but were far less powerful. If ghosts too had cultivation levels, then the black and white impermanents should be heavenly immortals, and these ghosts in front of them were mortals. They weren't like the mortals from JoJo who were at the third level of chi cultivation, but actual mortals who had never cultivated. But the report said that ghosts appeared all over Anyang City. Why does it look like all the ghosts in Anyang City have gathered here? Chapter 364, Ghosts Causing Trouble. On the graveyard, a figure in white stood on a tombstone, giving an impassioned speech. My fellow beings, we can't keep living in such a muddle. The yang energy of the human world is too frightening for us. We should unite and seek help from the powerful beings of this world. We know nothing of this world, how do we seek help? The powerful cannot be trusted. Although I lost my memory after drinking Mengpo soup, I vaguely remember that I was killed by an unreasonable, powerful being in my past life. Even the powerful underworld pays no attention to us, who else can? Are you suggesting that there's something more powerful than the underworld in this world? A few spirits began to quarrel, but most of the spirits were in a daze, allowing their companions to argue. Those spirits with unclear senses were drifting around aimlessly, passing through tombstones, trees, and abandoned houses. They were incompatible with this world, nothing could impede them, and they could not use anything. Suddenly, the spirits noticed a strong yang energy not far away, and they fled in terror. We are spirits, composed of extreme yin. Yang energy is our nemesis. A bit of yang energy can't hurt us, but if we come into contact with an excess of yang energy, we could likely be neutralized by yin and yang, scattered between heaven and earth. Theoretically, this situation should not occur, but two of the three men carry an extraordinary cultivation, bearing yang energy which threatens them. Especially the man in the middle, even getting slightly close to him has a risk of being dissolved by yang energy. This man is like the nemesis of spirits. Only those spirits who have achieved immortality are not afraid of yang energy, while we are nothing more than ordinary spirits waiting to be reincarnated. It's her. Spotting the figure in white standing on the tombstone, Du Ping remembered the events of the previous night. Ji Kongkong and Du Ping both took a shot at the same time, but it was the same as the report described. Ji Kongkong's attack fell through, unable to harm the spirit. Duping used his mana to capture the figure in white, but he found that he couldn't touch anything, no sense of substance, like air. The figure in white was not captured by his mana but by something else. Duping just maintained a grasping posture. The figure in white began to emit a hissing white gas, howling in pain. Zhongli hurriedly told Duping to let go. Your yang energy is too strong, you need to control it. Zhongli recalled what Elder Immortal Changkun and old Buddha Sumi had said and knew that spirits were afraid of the yang energy carried by living beings. It was Duping's strong yang energy that immobilized the figure in white. Zhongli speculated that Ji Kongkong's cultivation was not enough, and his yang energy was too weak to threaten the spirit. Previously, only God transformation stage cultivators had encountered spirits and were helpless against them. Zhongli guessed that only the yang energy carried by a body integration realm cultivator could pose a threat to spirits. Yang energy. Both Duping and Ji Kongkong looked at each other, both clueless about how to control it. Zhongli, who had studied the soul and knew how to control yang energy, taught them the method. While the two of them were learning, the spirits wanted to run away. Zhongli snapped his fingers, split a part of his yang energy, enclosed the graveyard, and prevented any spirit from escaping. Both men quickly learned how to control yang energy. The spirits wanted to disappear into thin air as before, but Zhongli could still detect them with his divine sense. They were just invisible, not disappeared. The spirits found that after hiding their bodies, they were still surrounded by Zhongli's yang energy and couldn't leave, so they sighed and reappeared. Everyone, it's not often that you come to the sun world. Why rush back to the underworld? Zhongli approached, cleverly reducing the scope of his yang energy, trapping the spirits in a small circle centered on the figure in white. What do you mean by going back to the underworld? We wish we could go back, but we can't, a spirit muttered. I seem to remember you. The figure in white looked at Zhongli hesitantly, constantly recalling the events of her past life in her mind. She vaguely remembered that in her past life, a statue of this man was placed in her home, worshipped as a faith, day and night. Only then did Duping notice that the figure in white looked young, around 15 or 16 years old, quite pitiful. She stood on the tombstone, and the tombstone was engraved with, the daughter of Qi Ming, Qi Guifang. In JoJo, many women use their mother's surname, mostly because the woman's cultivation level is higher than the man's. You know me, I am Zhongli, the human emperor of the JoJo world. The figure in white shook her head regretfully. I apologize, I have crossed the Nehi Bridge and drank the Mengpo soup. My memory of my previous life is vague, and I can't remember clearly who you are. The figure in white pointed to those muddle-headed and unintelligible spirits. All of them are spirits that crossed the Nehi Bridge and drank Mengpo's soup. They don't remember anything about their past lives. Perhaps because I was a cultivator in my previous life, I can still recall a little bit of my past life, but it is only a bit. The figure in white pointed to some somewhat active spirits. They should also have been cultivators in their past lives. Xiaofang, how can you tell him everything about us? We know nothing about him. A spirit was not happy that the figure in white was about to tell everything. He remembered that in his past life, he trusted people too much, was betrayed and died. Therefore, he was very cautious about everything and felt that someone was trying to harm him. What do you mean know nothing about him? He introduced himself. He's called Zhongli, the human emperor of the JoJo world. The figure in white had an inexplicable trust in Zhongli. She felt that he was a good person. Your name is Xiaofang? Ji Kongkong curiously asked, as if he just heard this name. A name randomly given. Oh, how did you guys come to the sun world? Is there a problem with the underworld? Yes, the underworld is currently overrun with ghosts, there is no space left. What? This response took Zhongli by surprise. All of his spirits have been dead for more than 50 years. I am the youngest, having only died 50 years ago, and have yet to reincarnate. I'm still in line. But didn't you cross the Nehi Bridge and drink Mengpo's soup? In Ji Kongkong's impression, crossing the Nehi Bridge would erase all connections to one's past life, causing one to forget all about their past life. After going through these two procedures, one should be reincarnated. If still in line, what are they doing crossing the Nehi Bridge and drinking Mengpo's soup so early? The underworld used to stipulate that. However, a few thousand years ago, the underworld changed its rules. I heard that too many people and beasts in the 10,000 realms died, the number of spirits in the underworld surged, and the number of the living in the 10,000 realms sharply decreased. The number of newborns is also decreasing. Reincarnating as a beast would be acceptable, as the number of beasts in the 10,000 realms is still considerable. But there isn't room for humans, no vacancies. After we spirits have accounted for our sins, according to regulations, we would be reincarnated in the human world. But now there is no place in the sun world, so the underworld has us wait for a chance. The number of spirits waiting to be reincarnated as humans is increasing, and people's hearts are becoming more chaotic. The underworld gradually has no control over people and simply lets us cross the Nahi Bridge and drink Mengpo's soup first. It's easier to manage us after we've forgotten our past life. Chapter 365, Creating a Gap in the Underworld. Zhang Li understood now. Although the JoJo world was thriving, the worlds beyond JoJo were all entangled in the schemes of the heavenly demons, consistently reducing the human population. Despite his attempts to save a few worlds, their numbers were insignificant compared to the countless worlds that existed. Too many worlds had fallen, some even desolate and lifeless. People were dying in increasing numbers and the opportunities for rebirth were decreasing, making it impossible for ghosts to find footing in the underworld. With the immortal realm not intervening, Zhang Li would eventually have to confront them about this issue. After drinking Mengpo's soup you still have foggy recollections of your previous life. Du Ping was surprised. If one could not completely forget their previous life, it implied that cultivators could retain memories of their past lives after reincarnation. This would lead to huge ethical controversies and the underworld would not allow such a thing to occur. Xiao Feng shook her head. Mengpo's soup is not the final step of reincarnation, we ghosts must pass through an immortal artifact called the Six Paths Reincarnation Tablet to be reincarnated. The immortal artifact, Six Paths Reincarnation Tablet, contains the way of reincarnation through life and death. It would purify our souls, thoroughly sever our ties with our past lives, make us forget everything, and start anew. However, this is all told to us by the well-intentioned ghost attendant. Whether it's true or not, we can't be certain. We were about to enter the cycle of reincarnation when the fight began. The people in front of me were cleansed by the Six Paths Reincarnation Tablet and reincarnated successfully. I was next, but we were interrupted. A fight broke out. I don't know. The situation was very chaotic. All I know is that someone above us attacked, puncturing a hole in the underworld. That's when the two honorable black and white impermanents hurried over. They activated the Six Paths Reincarnation Tablet, intending to send us toward reincarnation. However, the process was interrupted. We fell unconscious and didn't know how much time passed. When we woke up, we found ourselves in your world. It seems that we didn't successfully reincarnate, but instead exist somewhere between spirits and living beings. How are you able to conceal yourselves? Du Ping was confused. The concealment technique used by these common ghosts was surprisingly advanced, even his divine sense could not see through it. It's due to a trace of the power of reincarnation left on us by the Six Paths Reincarnation Tablet. We're surviving up until now relying on this bit of power. The power of life and death reincarnation. Zhang Li, hearing the familiar words, took out a book from his storage ring. Are you able to activate this? Is this a replica of the life and death book? Several relatively lucid ghosts exclaimed in surprise. The underworld had several incredibly important immortal artifacts, such as the 3 life stones, Nahi Bridge, Six Paths Reincarnation Tablet, and the Book of Life and Death. Because there were so many ghostly beings, even the shared life and death book of the Yamalords wasn't enough, so reproductions were permitted as an exception. Even so, there were only a few replicas of the Book of Life and Death in the underworld. Why should there be a replica of the Book of Life and Death in the realm of the living? Neither Du Ping nor Ji Kongkong expected Zhang Li to possess such an item. I happened to meet the black and white impermanents once, borrowed it to take a look. I wanted to return it to them, but they left in a rush and forgot to take it. Xiao Feng looked puzzled. The underworld is not supposed to interfere with matters of the living realm, and it should be impossible for the esteemed black and white impermanents to lend out the Book of Life and Death. What's more, they left in such a hurry, they forgot to take it. It all seemed highly unusual. Several ghosts looked at Zhang Li with peculiar glances. Could this life and death book have been seized from the esteemed black and white impermanents? May I ask, what's your cultivation realm? Mahayana realm. The ghosts looked at each other in blank dismay, not having heard of this realm before. Activating the Book of Life and Death requires profound understanding of the way of reincarnation of life and death. What we possess is not even considered skin deep, hence, we can't activate it. Then, do you know how to reach the underworld? Zhang Li found it strange. He had been holding the Book of Life and Death and had been waiting for the black and white impermanents to guide him to the underworld, but no one came. We also don't know where the underworld is. Who created that hole in the underworld? Was it caused by external forces or was there internal strife? Xiao Feng shook her head. I'm not sure, it was an immortal figure that made the move. The impact was enormous, we weren't even qualified to witness the battle, our only concern was to escape. Another ghost suggested. I suspect it was a conflict among the 10 halls of Yama. A few of the Yamas have been expressing that there are too many of us ghosts and that we're disrupting the order in the underworld. They wanted to send the excess ghosts to other worlds and establish new underworlds. But most of the Yamas disagreed, stating that there's only one underworld. Establishing new ones would tarnish the majesty of the underworld. When I first arrived in the JoJo world, I thought that it was a newly established underworld. It was only later that I realized it's a realm of the living. Xiao Fang added. This ghost here had accumulated a great amount of virtues in his previous life and should have been reborn in a wealthy family. However, due to the fact that the number of living beings has decreased and wealthy families are scarce, he has waited in the underworld for more than 100 years, so he's more senior than I am. I heard that a few Yamas were saying that there were too many ghosts, why not just destroy some of us? Could that be the reason for the discord among the Yamas, leading to a huge conflict that subsequently affected us? Nonsense, no matter what, the Yamas wouldn't kill us. I think it was an outside power that attacked the underworld. Ridiculous, we've been told by the ghost attendants that all beings across the 10,000 realms who die are bound for the underworld. Only the immortal realm is qualified to be on par with the underworld. Who would attack the underworld, the immortal realm? Not impossible, maybe someone's loved one in the immortal realm died. In their grief, they might have gone to retrieve them from the underworld. The few ghosts with relatively clearer senses were arguing, each holding on to their own views, their quarrel escalating. The muddle-headed ghosts continued to be muddle-headed, with no reaction, as if they were used to these quarrels. I've been dead for 120 years. You should listen to me. Talking about seniority, I've been dead for 180 years, have I said anything? Look at your arrogance. If we didn't know better, we'd think you were going to reincarnate in the heavenly realm. We're all going to reincarnate in the human realm. What's the point in comparing who's been dead the longest? Only Xiao Fang stood to the side obediently, not saying a word. She was someone who said what she knew and didn't speculate about what she didn't know. Sounds like you're all quite familiar with the immortal realm. Ji Kong Kong found the bickering ghosts fascinating and amusing. She had initially thought all ghosts were terrifying, but seeing that some could be so lively, her fear of them was significantly reduced. However, looking at the muddle-headed ghosts, she still felt her hair stand on end. Xiao Fang rolled her eyes. The underworld makes us drink Mengpo's soup precisely so that we know less. We hardly know anything. They're just spouting off about the immortal realm and Yamas from overhearing idle chatter from the ghost attendants, it's just hearsay. We don't even know who the 10 halls of Yama are. Ji Kong Kong was speechless. It turns out these ghosts were just boasting. Zhang Li had been listening for a while and suddenly asked, haven't you considered that it could be the work of the heavenly demons from outside the realm? Heavenly demons from outside the realm? Never heard of them. None of the ghosts had heard of the concept of heavenly demons from outside the realm. Zhang Li didn't expect to gain any useful information from this group of ghosts, as they didn't even know about the Mahayana realm or the heavenly demons from outside the realm, so he wasn't disappointed. Chapter 366. Through his conversations with ghosts, Zhang Li learned quite a bit about the underworld. There were 10 rulers known as the 10 halls of Yama who governed all affairs in the underworld. Beneath them were the black and white impermanents, the horse-faced ghost and other infernal officers who were all ghost immortals. The underworld was filled with innumerable ghost immortals who could battle against the immortal realm. The underworld managed the spirits of the dead and had little interest in matters of the living world. There were many immortal artifacts in the underworld, all related to the cycle of reincarnation. The absence of any one of them could potentially disrupt the cycle of reincarnation. All this information aligned with what the old immortal had told him. Zhang Li contemplated. If the underworld was attacked, be it by external forces or internal strife, it indicated that the state of the underworld was not good. Perhaps it was too chaotic in the underworld, and that's why the black and white impermanents had no time to come after him for the Book of Life and Death. If it were an external enemy, Zhang Li guessed it could be a heavenly demon from another realm or a powerful being from the immortal realm. If it were an internal rebellion, the root cause was likely the chaos brought about by the heavenly demon's world destruction that disrupted the balance of life and death. Anyway, there was a high probability that it was related to the heavenly demon. What were you doing near the tavern last night? Du Ping asked curiously. Xiao Fang looked lost. I don't know, I just felt that the street was very familiar to me, as if I've been here before. Perhaps I was from this world in my past life. Last night, I intended to stroll down that street in case it could trigger my memory of my past life, but as soon as I appeared, I saw you rushing towards me. The yang energy on you is too appalling, very dangerous for me, and I was so scared that I ran away. Du Ping was speechless upon hearing Xiao Fang's words. It seemed as if he appeared to be the terrifying ghost. What should we do with these ghosts? No hurry, let's first help Xiao Fang find her family. Zhang Li used his divine sense to spot a portrait in a house in Anyang City. The portrait was of a couple with their daughter. The girl in the picture was identical to Xiao Fang. Qi Ming returned home and collapsed into her chair, looking at the portrait on the table, and tears welled up in her eyes. Over the years, she had been living in the pain of losing her daughter. Every year after paying tribute to her daughter, all she would do was wait for the anniversary of her daughter's death next year. The over 200-year lifespan of a golden core cultivator brought her immense sorrow. She had thought of ending her life multiple times, yet she could not bring herself to go through with it. She always felt that she would meet her daughter again. Her husband did not want to stay in Anyang City, where painful memories were evoked. He suggested that they move elsewhere. Qi Ming was left alone in the large house, lost about what to do. She was living lifelessly, unlike the spirited golden core cultivator she used to be 50 years ago. I'm sorry, daughter. With the portrait in her arms, Qi Ming broke down into tears. Through blurred vision from her tears, Qi Ming vaguely saw her daughter standing in front of her. She rubbed her eyes, and indeed, her daughter was really standing in front of her. Is that you, Xiao Fang? Qi Ming reached out slowly, wanting to touch the familiar face. To her shock, her hand passed through her daughter's body, unable to touch anything. Xiao Fang didn't know how to respond. She had forgotten everything. She just felt that Qi Ming seemed very familiar. In Xiao Fang's memory, this was her first time seeing Qi Ming, but she seemed to know Qi Ming's name. The words were on the tip of her tongue, yet she couldn't say it out loud. Who was she again? Xiao Fang couldn't recall Qi Ming's identity, nor could she remember their relationship. Until Xiao Fang noticed the portrait in Qi Ming's hands. The girl in the portrait looked exactly like her. Even so, Xiao Fang still couldn't recall her past life. She was somewhat at a loss. Zhang Li at her side shook his head gently. The effect of Meng Po's soup couldn't be negated just by willpower or emotion. This is your mother, Qi Ming, he said. Your name is Qi Guifang. You passed away 50 years ago. Human Emperor. Only now did Qi Ming notice that besides Xiao Fang, there were 3 other people in the room. I happened upon this ghost named Xiao Fang, and I believe she is your daughter. Zhang Li briefly explained Xiao Fang's background, and Qi Ming realized she was not dreaming. Her daughter was standing right in front of her. No matter how hard Qi Ming tried, she could not touch her daughter. I'm sorry, I don't remember you, Xiao Fang whispered. Even though she knew the woman in front of her was her mother, she truly didn't remember anything. She felt uneasy about Qi Ming's actions. It's okay not remembering your mother is okay, as long as you're here, Qi Ming sobbed. Her daughter's appearance was beyond her expectations. She didn't dare to hope for anything more. Thank you, Human Emperor. Qi Ming kneeled before Zhang Li in gratitude, but Zhang Li used an invisible force to help her up. Zhang Li said gently, you clean my statue every day, worship me, and pray for my blessings. This is already a thanks to me. Qi Ming's house had a statue of Zhang Li, and he could feel the strong power of faith from it. I plan to build a city near the Imperial Palace and gather all the ghosts scattered across Zhouzhou, including Xiao Fang. I hope you can understand. After understanding the origin of the ghosts, Zhang Li wanted to gather them together. Even though ghosts were harmless, little was known about them. If they remained scattered, there could be potential problems. Can I go to that city? Of course. Qi Ming sighed in relief. Being able to go was enough for her. It was merely moving to a different place. Du Ping, we are short of manpower at the Imperial Palace. I know you fairly well. You are not a bad person, you just like to drink too much. I appoint you as the temporary leader of the Imperial Palace. Your probation period will be 10 years. If you keep out of trouble during these 10 years, I will agree to you becoming the official leader. Do you have any objections to this appointment? Du Ping was overjoyed. Greetings, Hall Master. He never thought that his 50-year probation period would be shortened to 10 years. His status was also promoted from candidate leader to temporary leader. Since you agree, I will give you a task. I will have Lu, the leader, build a city near the Imperial Palace. Your task is to bring all the ghosts in Zhouzhou to the newly established city. I assure you the task will be carried out. Du Ping intended to do his first task well. Kong Kong, after all this, are you still afraid of ghosts? Zhang Li asked with a laugh. Ji Kong Kong's face flushed red. Her fear of ghosts had largely diminished. Thinking of her situation before, she wanted to find a hole to crawl into. She finally realized she was the one scaring herself. Wait, it was obviously her father who had deliberately told her ghost stories to scare her. She remembered her father's exact words. Kong Kong, you must be tired of listening to Uncle Yang's stories before bed, let your father tell you a different story, change the taste. After hearing this, Zhang Li was laughing so hard tears almost came out. Is that what he said? When Zhang Li and Gigi were studying, Zhang Li used the same excuse to tell Gigi ghost stories. Gigi, are you tired of studying? Let me tell you a story to relax your mind. By the way, don't use your heavy pupil, the most important thing about this story is the mystery. Zhang Li still remembered that Gigi had been so scared that he had to use his heavy pupil whenever he went to the toilet. He wanted to see the future to make sure there are no ghosts hovering over his head, no ghost faces under his crotch, no red embroidered shoes placed at the door, and so on and so forth. Ji Kong Kong glared at Zhang Li resentfully. So, it all started with Uncle Zhang. Chapter 367, The Origin of the Ghost Immortal. After Du Ping and Ji Kong Kong left, Zhang Li called Qi Ming over. I have something to say beforehand. Human Emperor, please speak. My personal feelings did factor in Xiaofang meeting you. I could not bear to see you all in the same city, yet unknowingly passing each other by, hence I brought Xiaofang here. However, Xiaofang is ultimately a spirit and is one step away from reincarnation. If one day the underworld comes knocking, Xiaofang may be forced to reincarnate. You should mentally prepare yourself for this. Qi Ming nodded painfully, but you also shouldn't worry too much. I will try to help, and find if there are any alternative solutions. Qi Ming thanked Zhang Li again. Zhang Li brought all the spirits and Qi Ming to the Imperial Palace. Commander Lu was shocked beyond words. Hall Master, you just left the Imperial Palace for a moment and made such a big fuss. The commander hadn't expected that there would be trouble in the underworld. Build a city near the Imperial Palace. Set up a grand array to absorb the yin energy below the city, and set up a grand array to block the yang energy from above, so that the spirits will not be burned by the yang energy. All right, Commander Lu answered. This was not a difficult task. Also, I am appointing Du Ping as the temporary commander. He is responsible for finding the ghosts hidden throughout the 9 states. All right, Commander Lu hesitated for a while before acknowledging. The commander was exasperated. Du Ping was not easy to deal with. How did he end up nominating himself for the position of commander? And why was the Hall Master in sync with him? Commander Lu was extremely tired. In the vast Imperial Palace, from the Hall Master to the commander, it seems he was the only one who was normal. Zhang Li had a word with the Elder Immortal about the affair of the underworld, but the Elder Immortal also appeared unusually baffled. A conflict among the 10 halls of Yama. I've never heard of this, but it's not unreasonable for them to have conflicts. What do you mean? Do you know how the ghost immortals in the underworld came to be? I don't. With a smile, the Elder Immortal stroked his beard. When an immortal dies and enters the underworld, they have 2 choices. One is to reincarnate, wash away their memories and start anew, the other is to stay in the underworld and become a ghost immortal. Doesn't that mean all immortals would want to stay in the underworld? Zhang Li was shocked. Who would want to lose their cultivation, forget everything, and embark on the unknown journey of the next life after reaching the realm of an immortal? Even if you do well in your next life, can it be better than being an immortal? Not all immortals are qualified to stay in the underworld. Only those with profound yin virtue are allowed to transform into ghost immortals and become part of the underworld. If you were not an immortal, but died, you would probably be qualified to stay in the underworld. So would I. So, you see, the underworld does not have any native ghost immortals. They all died from the immortal realm, and the 10 halls of Yama are no exception. The immortals are stubborn and fond of power struggles. They maintain this character even after death. The invasion of the heavenly demon has disrupted the balance of life and death, which intensifies the conflicts among the halls of Yama. I see I learned a great deal. But what's the difference between yin virtue and merits? Yin virtue is the calculation of good and evil in the underworld. The yin and yang are separated, and the underworld tries to minimize the connection with the yang realm, thus they came up with their own set of merits. The specific calculation standard, I do not know. So doesn't the immortal realm turning a blind eye to the heavenly demons invading the 10,000 realms damage yin virtue? Zhang Li was puzzled. The immortals valued yin virtue, but wouldn't the acts of the immortal realm decrease yin virtue? The elder immortal remained silent for a while, choosing his words carefully. The underworld has its own set of values, which may not necessarily align with those of the yang realm. They may believe that the invasion of the heavenly demon leading to the death of sentient beings is natural, and that life is destined, everyone has to die. including causing an imbalance in the cycle of life and death. The elder immortal showed a strange smile. The increase in spirits, isn't that a reason for the underworld to expand? The territory of the underworld surpasses the yang realm, reversing yin and yang, transforming the underworld into the yang realm, and the yang realm into the underworld. Don't forget, the 10 halls of Yama were once immortals. In a power struggle, what could be a bigger power than the struggle for control of the yin and yang realms? Zhongli fell silent. The elder immortal thought he had scared Zhongli, so he continued, of course, this is the worst possibility and not necessarily inevitable. The fight in the underworld could also have happened because the heavenly demon wanted to invade the underworld. The elder immortal seems to know a lot about the underworld. Most of what I've heard is from hearsay, much of it is my speculation. I am just guessing the situation in the underworld based on the way of thinking in the immortal realm. It's possible the real underworld is not like this. The 10 halls of Yama might be above personal gains. After thanking the elder immortal, Zhongli turned and left. The elder immortal watched Zhongli leave, always keeping a smile on his face. Zhongli received a new mission. New mission. The once-in-a-century sentient being's secret realm of the Buddhist door has opened, causing a sensation across 9 states. Even genius cultivators from previous generations have come to participate. Talents abound, from the golden core stage to divinity transformation, all gather in front of the secret realm. You, as a nascent soul cultivator, have an impressive cultivation level, but no reputation. Some of the previous generation cultivators believe you are just an unknown junior who obtained the cultivation method from your ancestors. Please inherit the legacy of Manjusri Bodhisattva in the sentient being's secret realm. This mission cannot be abandoned. Reward: half a jazi's worth of cultivation, golden lock armor, Tao sect's secret technique, establishment of the 3 pure land. Sentient being's secret realm. Zhongli disregarded the system rewards, which were not worth much. Instead, the sentient being's secret realm reminded him of some events. The sentient being's secret realm was well known in the 9 states. The secret realm contained numerous legacies left by the immortal realm Buddhas, Bodhisattvas and Arhats. The fragrant elephant Bodhisattva obtained the cultivation method for heavenly vision here, the dragon tamer Arhat obtained the dragon tamer Arhat legacy here, and the tiger tamer Arhat obtained the tiger tamer Arhat legacy here. 500 years ago, Zhongli and Saintess Pure Heart went to this secret realm. However, just as he was about to enter the secret realm, he was expelled by a certain Arhat, who reasoned that Zhongli had killed too many beasts in the White Marsh dynasty, and that went against the heavenly order and was disrespectful to Buddhism. Annoyed, Zhongli debated with the Arhat, saying that the beasts attacked first when he entered the White Marsh dynasty, and he was just defending himself. But, the Arhat said Zhongli could defend himself but it was not necessary to kill the beasts. Zhongli accused the Arhat of being presumptuous, and the Arhat criticized Zhongli for being cruel, as he did not consider the beasts he killed. The two quarreled for several days, and by the time the sentient being's secret realm closed, they had not yet resolved their dispute. Zhongli then lost the opportunity to enter the sentient being's secret realm. Thinking this was unfair, Saintess Pure Heart also stayed outside and argued with the Arhat along with Zhongli. After hearing about the incident later on, the Venerable Samyak Buddha reprimanded the Arhat for going too far. He gave Zhongli and Yuyin some Buddhist scriptures and heavenly treasures as compensation. Later, when Zhongli became a candidate for the human emperor, he did not think much about the sentient being's secret realm and did not visit it when it opened again. As for the Arhat who argued with him, he died 200 years ago. Then let's make a trip. Zhongli didn't know what the legacy of Manjusri Bodhisattva was. According to the ancient records, Manjusri Bodhisattva was in charge of wisdom, so his legacy might be related to wisdom. Chapter 368. Buddha says, ineffable. The western region of the Buddhism has always been synonymous with quiet cultivation, but in the recent days, the area below Mount Sumeru has been bustling with noise as numerous cultivators from the 9 provinces rush to participate in the sentient being's secret realm. There are so many people, Qin Luan exclaimed, surprised that the number of participants in the sentient being's secret realm was well beyond his expectation, including many cultivators of comparable strength to his own. Now he is in the midst of the nascent soul stage, the cultivators Qin Luan refers to as of comparable strength or in the late nascent soul stage. There weren't this many participants in the past. It's because the human emperor and the Brahma Tower have strengthened the connections between the various regions of the 9 provinces through the creation of spatial channels, allowing many cultivators to come here through these channels to participate in this secret realm competition, Yuan Wuxing explained. Master, how do you know this? Qin Luan asked. Yuan Wuxing took the Heavenly Machine newspaper, rolled it into a tube and tapped Qin Luan on the head. I've long urged you to read the newspaper more often. Everything is written clearly there. Pocketing his newspaper, Yuan Wuxing cautioned, there are many cultivators here, some even I can't see through. This implies there are not a few at the divinity transformation stage. You guys must be cautious and not attract too much attention. Okay, but master, isn't that cultivator being a little too ostentatious? Qin Luan points to a monk who is glancing around and looks restless. I can't see through him. He's probably at the divinity transformation stage. Better not follow their example, as they are confident because of their high skills. But Song Ying has already gone forward to remind him not to be too flamboyant. Haha, thank you for reminding me, young lady, it's my first time here and everything looks fascinating, the twinkling-eyed agility-focused cultivator thanked Song Ying. You must be Yuan Wuxing. I have long heard about you and am glad to meet you today, said the buoyant cultivator. However, Yuan Wuxing did not recognize him. May I know who you are? You may not have seen me before, but you should have seen my disciple, Zhang Li from Dao sect. You are an important witness who can confirm Zhang Li's affiliation to our Dao sect. You're the sect master Bai Hongtu of Dao sect. What brings you to such a place? Yuan Wuxing exclaimed, genuinely surprised to see Bai Hongtu here. Just as Bai Hongtu was about to boast about his status in front of Yuan Wuxing, a sinister voice sounded from behind him. Yes, why are you here? The voice from behind was so sudden that Bai Hongtu didn't notice there was someone behind him. Cautiously, he turns his head and sees a smirking Zhang Li. As Zhang Li sips his hawthorn juice, he questions with a grin, Master Bai, care to guess how long it took me to find a place here that sells hawthorn juice? The people around glanced at the hawthorn juice in Zhang Li's hand and started speculating that he was either a core disciple of Dao sect or a member of a wealthy family. On his way to Buddhist temple, Zhang Li thought of selling some candied ha on the side. However, he didn't find a single ha store until he reached the foot of Mount Sumeru, where he just found a hawthorn juice shop. Of course, Bai Hongtu won't confess to his desire to find a mind-reading inheritance to read Zhang Li's next move during a fight. Instead, he answers evasively, I came here to find the teachings of Manjushri Bodhisattva and see if there's a good way to cultivate superior hawthorns in the teachings. Zhang Li rolls his eyes at Bai Hongtu, knowing that he was clearly making things up. Long time no see, Zhang Li greets Yuan Wuxing. Yuan Wuxing and the others return the greeting. The little fox's fur seems smoother than before. Zhang Li compliments while stroking the little white fox's back, finding it extremely comfortable. Isn't it? At first, its fur was somewhat rough, but later it became softer and softer. I often hold it, it feels especially comfortable, Qin Luan elaborates on it while grabbing the little white fox from his shoulder to his arms. The little white fox struggles, but it can't escape from Qin Luan's demonic claws. Of course, Zhang Li wouldn't tell Qin Luan that the little white fox has already advanced to the nascent soul stage and is at the same level as Qin Luan himself. The Arhat who dropped down on the secret realm announced, this Arhat intends to set up a vegetarian society. Membership isn't limited to Buddhist disciples. Who wishes to join? Bai Hongtu raises his hand in excitement, I'll join. I love vegetarian food. The Arhat asks, what do you like to eat? Garlic and leeks. Can you choose something with a stronger flavor? The Arhat who proposed the vegetarian society pulls the other Arhat aside, don't listen to him, it's really difficult to maintain a vegetarian diet. I want to establish a seafood protection society with the aim of protecting marine life. Would anyone like to join? Bai Hongtu raises his hand again, I'll join. I never eat seafood. Then what do you usually eat? Pufferfish. Isn't pufferfish also a seafood? Afterwards, the Bodhisattva, at a high position, makes an announcement about the commencement of the secret realm. Known to contain half of the Buddha's inheritance, the opening of the sentient being's secret realm was marked with a blinding golden light and an overwhelming Buddhist aura, as if purifying the participants and bringing peace to their minds. To know everything is to see everything, the secret realm brings you countless blessings. Why? Because it has no ideas of personhood, it treats everyone the same, it does not distinguish between legal or illegal actions. The sound of Buddha's teachings resonates in their ears for a long time. The Bodhisattva joins his palms together, Buddha said, it's inexpressible. The sound of the Buddha's teachings disappears. Zhang Li snickers, can, Buddha said, it's indescribable, really be used like this? Bai Hongtu glances at Zhang Li. Given that the man who dismissed the cataclysmic disaster of the earth, fire, wind and water simply by saying, everything is emptiness, was standing in front of him, Bai Hongtu figures Zhang Li didn't have the right to say such things. Zhang Li imitates the Bodhisattva and puts his palms together, Buddha said, continue. To know everything is to see everything, the secret realm. The melodious Buddhist teachings ring out once again. Zhongli jumps in shock, he thought he'd experiment and now his prank actually worked. Is the sentient being's secret realm this easy to control? Zhongli quickly said. Buddha said, it's inexpressible, to cut off the Buddhist teachings. The bodhisattva frowns in confusion, tilting his head, unsure of what just happened. Only a person who was proficient in Buddhist law could control the sentient being's secret realm. Could it be that there was someone in the secret realm who was more proficient in Buddhist law than him? If you cultivate here, it can improve your state of mind and decrease the invasion of the heart demon. Some people are surprised to find that this place is too suitable for cultivation. They were initially excited when they entered the sentient being's secret realm, but after entering, their restless hearts have been calmed down. While stroking the little fox's head, Zhongli smiles and says, here is a chance for you to think about the future. Revenge is not the only approach. The little white fox complies with Zhongli's advice. Qin Luan didn't understand what Zhongli meant, but the little white fox did. After being betrayed, the only thought in her mind was of revenge. She certainly likes Qin Luan, but she hasn't ruled out the thought of using Qin Luan to help her. This thought almost led her into the heart demon tribulation. Now, through the sentient being's secret realm's intention of calming the hearts of the people, Zhongli gave a wake-up call to the little white fox. Life is not just about revenge. After taking revenge, she can still do many things. Really, why don't I feel affected at all? Bai Hongtu found his mind still active and had no intention of calming down. Buddha has given up on you. And you're saying this as if you're affected. I am truly not affected. This implies that Buddha has also given up on you. No, it means I have given up on Buddha. At a high point, the bodhisattva loudly introduces the rules of the sentient being's secret realm, not minding the two bickering people below. Everyone here has a bond. There are 3 tests this time. There is no winner or loser, nor is it meant to eliminate anyone. After the 3 tests, those who are destined to receive the inheritance will come to you. Chapter 369, The Things Filling Up the Wooden House. With a bodhi leaf held in his hand, the fragrant elephant bodhisattva made a gentle wave, and everyone suddenly found themselves in different locations, each within an isolated small space. Among the tens of thousands of cultivators who had entered the secret realm, the fragrant elephant bodhisattva created an equal number of small spaces and relocated the cultivators to them. Each flower, a world, each leaf, a bodhi. Zhongli recognized the fragrant elephant bodhisattva's technique. The sect of Buddha was proficient in the art of spaces, and within the sentient being's secret realm, the fragrant elephant bodhisattva demonstrated the advantages of Buddhism to its fullest. In the outside world, the fragrant elephant bodhisattva wouldn't be capable of such exaggeration. Perhaps this secret realm was created by a Buddha at the heavenly immortal level, Zhongli mumbled to himself. The gifts that the sentient being's secret realm had bestowed upon the fragrant elephant bodhisattva were too exaggerated, beyond what normal secret realms could achieve. Everyone found a small wooden house appeared before them. Inside the wooden house, there was nothing. Beside the house, there was a bustling traffic of carriage riders, woodcutters, vendors, and travelers. Numerous sundries flowed through this place, but they were all ordinary items without a trace of spiritual energy. Please now begin the first challenge. As you can see, there is nothing in this little wooden house. You each have 1 tael of silver. Please fill up this little wooden house. The test will conclude in 4 hours. During this test, the use of magical power is forbidden. I have sealed everyone's strength. Every cultivator found that they could barely mobilize any of their strength. They were indeed no different from ordinary people, with their spiritual energy dormant within them, refusing to be mobilized. Zhongli and Bai Hongtu both felt an inexplicable force binding them. They secretly attempted to use their mana, but found it was useless against the restrictions of the secret realm. Bai Hongtu remained at the Transcendence Tribulation stage, whereas Zhongli remained at Mahayana realm. However, both of them were people who followed the rules, and they had no intention of illegally using their mana. They stood out among the candidates for human emperor not solely due to their power but rather their wisdom. This kind of test posed no difficulty for them. Zhongli walked into the wooden house, thought a little, and turned around to buy a candied haw skewer with a tael of silver. 4 hours passed quickly, and everyone returned to the sentient being's secret realm carrying their little wooden houses. What have you filled your little wooden house with? The fragrant elephant bodhisattva asked Qin Luan with a smile. Qin Luan opened the little wooden house, revealing it was stacked with firewood. Some people chuckled under their breath, half in mockery. Qin Luan's answer was too mundane. How could such an answer have a correlation with the secret realm's inheritance? There were quite a few among them who took no action when the trial had begun, instead sitting cross-legged in front of their little wooden houses, grinning with confidence and maintaining a mysterious air. Just being present could capture the attention of many inheritances. The fragrant elephant bodhisattva smiled. Qin Luan's answer was nothing out of the ordinary, without any remarkable points, but this was the normal state of sentient beings. Very well. The fragrant elephant bodhisattva moved on to the second cultivator. What have you filled your little wooden house with? Cupping his hands together in greeting to the fragrant elephant bodhisattva, the cultivator, who looked like a deeply cultivated Buddhist, replied, "My lord, I have not filled up the little wooden house with anything." "Oh, and why is that?" "Air is omnipresent and yet often overlooked," the cultivator answered, his smile inscrutable. The cultivator opened the wooden house and, with all the confidence in the world, declared, "My lord, as you can see, the wooden house is full of air." Perhaps the benefactor should step inside before coming to any conclusions. Filled with confidence, the cultivator stepped into the little wooden house only to turn pale. Inside the little house, there was nothing, not even air or any spiritual energy. Even with the door open, the little wooden house repelled the entry of air. The cultivator's face turned ashen. He was so fixated on maintaining his superior demeanor, he had not even entered the wooden house before. However, he quickly regained his composure. It didn't matter. The sentient being's secret realm did not eliminate candidates. All he needed to do was perform exceedingly well in the next challenge. Suddenly, a copy of Diamond Sutra appeared in that cultivator's hands. "What does this mean?" the cultivator asked confusedly. The fragrant elephant bodhisattva's smile remained. "This is the reward from the secret realm for you." A cultivator who had entered the sentient being's secret realm before added, "Which is to say, this is a consolation prize." The next two challenges are more about participation. The sight caused a significant change in the expressions of many cultivators. They no longer acted like the mysterious high-level cultivators, and some even stealthily hid the candles they had bought. The cultivators who bought the candles were full of regret. They originally planned to nonchalantly walk into the wooden house, light up the candle, then recite a verse from the sutras while smiling and declaring that the wooden house was now filled with light. Every action, every line of dialogue, they have them all planned out. The fragrant elephant bodhisattva gently shook his head upon observing this. Could these cultivators with mischievous minds, who were intent on acting mysteriously and ridiculing Qin Luan's ordinariness, really not think that their behavior wouldn't attract the attention of the inheritances? There were so many cultivators trying to act mysterious that Qin Luan's mundane answer of filling the wooden house with firewood had become unique. "What have you filled your little wooden house with?" The fragrant elephant bodhisattva posed this question to Yuan Wuxing. Yuan Wuxing placed many candles outside the door, then lit them up, illuminating the wooden house. Although the light was faint within the wooden house, there was indeed light in it. Good. The fragrant elephant bodhisattva felt that while Yuan Wuxing's approach wasn't the best, it was still commendable. The fragrant elephant bodhisattva moved towards Bai Hongtu and saw that his hands were empty. At first glance, Bai Hongtu seemed like the kind who puts on an act. "What have you filled your little wooden house with?" "The entire sentient being's secret realm." This answer was beyond the fragrant elephant bodhisattva's expectation. "May I ask, where is the inside of the wooden house?" The fragrant elephant bodhisattva opened the door to the wooden house and entered. "Naturally, it's in here." Bai Hongtu shook his head and also entered the wooden house. "My lord, you've fallen into conventionality. No person has ever defined where is inside and outside a wooden house. Therefore, why not consider this to be the outside of the wooden house?" Bai Hongtu walked out. "This place is the inside of the wooden house." The fragrant elephant bodhisattva had a sudden realization. This is a novel approach. "Benefactor, you are indeed a wise man." Zhang Li pulled a face. People with the surname Bai can be so deceptive, couldn't they be honest and sincere like him? The fragrant elephant bodhisattva reached Zhang Li's little wooden house and saw that he also had empty hands. "What have you filled your wooden house with?" Zhang Li opened the door and invited the fragrant elephant bodhisattva inside. After entering, the fragrant elephant bodhisattva found that there was nothing in the wooden house. "What is in the wooden house?" Surprised, Zhang Li asked. "Didn't you see, my lord? There is so much in the wooden house. If you can't see it, why not use your divine sense to look?" The fragrant elephant bodhisattva activated her divine sense, only to find that there was genuinely nothing in the wooden house. "Indeed, there is nothing. How could there be nothing?" "Look carefully, my lord." Zhang Li's confidence about the presence of objects in the wooden house left fragrant elephant bodhisattva skeptical. Had she overlooked something? But no matter how hard she tried, she found nothing. Benefactor, what exactly is in your wooden house? A lie. The fragrant elephant bodhisattva could hardly resist cursing. Bai Hongtu spread out his hands. He had mentioned early on during the human emperor candidacy that half of the mischief ideas were from Zhongli, but no one believed him. Chapter 370. Two big scammers. Look who's talking about fooling, as if there's a difference between inside and outside the cabin. Unlike you, who is adept at fooling and filling the cabin with lies. The two communicated their thoughts, both thinking the other was trying to deceive. Shang Bodhisattva didn't despise the way Zhongli and Bai Hongtu handled things. If Yuan Wuxing was unconventional, then these two had broken from the existing framework and looked at the problem from a completely different perspective. Buddhism encourages this kind of thinking. Despite Zhongli having fooled Shang Bodhisattva to the point she wanted to swear. Would the two of you consider joining our Buddhism? Shang Bodhisattva believed these two God transformation stage cultivators possessed wisdom and inherent Buddha nature. If they were to enter Buddhism, they could easily earn the title of Bodhisattva or Arhat, regardless of their existing ranks. Both had changed their appearances and hidden their cultivation levels, making them appear as ordinary God transformation stage cultivators to outsiders. Zhongli waved his hand. No, thanks. Before he became the human emperor, the old Buddha of Sumeru had repeatedly invited him to join Buddhism due to his profound Buddha nature and considered him as the next Buddha. But Zhongli always politely declined, to the old Buddha's regret. I'd like to try it, Bai Hongtu enthusiastically said. He was tired of being the sect master of Dao sect and felt it was time for a change, to go to Buddhism and display his talents. Zhongli, fearing that Chengkun Shanwang would break Bai Hongtu's legs, pulled him aside and declined on his behalf. This man has an unrighteous intent. I'm afraid he will disturb the purity of Buddhism, better to abandon this idea. Shang Bodhisattva didn't take this to heart as she didn't think Bai Hongtu was capable of disturbing Buddhism's purity. However, seeing Zhongli's firm stance, she had no choice but to give up on the idea. The first trial allowed many to obtain the Diamond Sutra, yet they were not satisfied. They felt they should still strive to catch the inheritance's interest in the second trial. Shang Bodhisattva scattered the Bodhi leaves, and everyone again came to a separate little space. They found themselves meditating in a forest with a sky where an eagle monster was chasing a pigeon. The pigeon, finding no escape route, flew into the cultivator's sleeve, hoping to escape the ordeal. Let the second trial begin. Protect the pigeon from being eaten by the eagle monster. Some cultivators saw the low cultivation of the eagle monster and laughed in contempt. A foundation establishment stage eagle monster dares to be so arrogant. They were about to kill the eagle monster to protect the pigeon when a copy of the Manhwa Sutra appeared in their hands, saving the eagle monster. Shang Bodhisattva stepped in to explain upon seeing the cultivator's confusion. To save one living creature by killing another goes against the principles of Buddhism. Both the eagle monster and the pigeon were beings raised by Buddhism and were not fictitious. Yuan Wuxing protected the pigeon but also knew he couldn't harm the eagle monster. Why can't you let this pigeon go, believing in the virtue of respecting all life as heaven's creation? The eagle monster retorted, if I let this pigeon go, it lives, but I starve to death. Does heaven only favor pigeons and not me? Yuan Wuxing gritted his teeth and said, I am willing to exchange meat of the same weight for the life of the pigeon. That will do. The eagle monster pulled out a balance, putting the pigeon on one side, indicating Yuan Wuxing could start cutting the meat. Yuan Wuxing took out a small knife and slowly began to cut the meat. For some unknown reason, Yuan Wuxing, a divinity transformation stage cultivator, couldn't turn off his sense of pain. He endured the pain of the knife cut, and gave the eagle monster an equal amount of his flesh. Moreover, he couldn't heal his wound. The balance still leaned towards the pigeon's side. The eagle monster, expressionless, said, you didn't cut enough meat. Yuan Wuxing was helpless and could only continue to endure the pain of cutting his flesh. He kept cutting, but the balance always leaned towards the pigeon's side. Yuan Wuxing understood. Buddhism preaches equality for all beings. Exchanging part of his flesh for the pigeon's life was clearly an unequal act. Only by giving his life could he balance the scales. Yuan Wuxing apologized. I cannot exchange my life for the life of a pigeon. I give up this trial. But Yuan Wuxing waited for a long time and didn't see any consolation prize coming from the secret realm. The eagle monster explained with a laugh, although you didn't offer your life, you were able to understand the profound mystery within this, which is commendable. The eagle monster returned Yuan Wuxing to the sentient being's secret realm, and Yuan Wuxing's wounds healed rapidly. Dare to snatch my food. Bai Hongtu kicked the eagle monster away. The latter was immediately dizzied and felt disoriented. Once the eagle monster regained its balance, its head was still spinning, but it didn't have time to get back to its senses and immediately rushed towards Bai Hongtu. What are you doing? The eagle monster looked at Bai Hongtu in horror. This man was actually setting up a fire to roast the pigeon. Was there no humanity left? Obviously to eat the pigeon. Not eating the pigeon means eating you, Bai Hongtu said naturally. The eagle monster couldn't understand Bai Hongtu's logic. Did this person no longer want to pass the test? The pigeon and the eagle monster were both raised by Buddhism, and they were good brothers. The eagle monster could not stand by and watch its good brother get eaten. Then you eat me. The eagle monster gritted its teeth. Bai Hongtu thought for a moment. That's doable. However, I won't eat it all. I will eat as much of you as there is meat on the pigeon. The eagle monster took out the balance and voluntarily cut his flesh, grimacing with pain. Bai Hongtu showed no emotion. Not enough, the balance is still on the pigeon's side. The eagle monster endured the pain and kept cutting while Bai Hongtu continued to remind him, not enough. Eventually, the eagle monster had no choice but to jump onto the balance itself, finally achieving equilibrium. Seeing the eagle monster's fearless attitude towards death, Bai Hongtu revealed a smile and comforted, "How could I really eat you? It is commendable that you have realized the equality of all beings. Off you go." The eagle monster thanked Bai Hongtu, but halfway through, it suddenly felt as if it had switched places with Bai Hongtu. Had their positions reversed. "Why do you want to eat a pigeon? Can't you not eat it?" Zhongli curiously asked the eagle monster. The eagle monster was annoyed by Yuan Wuxing's question, blurted out while pulling out the balance, "If I don't eat it, I will eat you. You choose one." Zhongli thought for a while and continued, "If you eat me, can you guarantee you won't eat the pigeon?" "Of course, I can guarantee. Why should I believe you? You are such a murderous eagle monster, you just have to have meat." "I don't believe you. I can guarantee. I don't believe. I swear." "I don't believe even if you swear." The eagle monster was exasperated. "What do you want to happen then?" "Like this, you write a guarantee letter, saying you will never eat pigeons again, then I will believe you." Zhongli pulled out paper and pen, wrote the guarantee letter and had the eagle monster press its claw print. The eagle monster didn't want to deal with Zhongli anymore, thinking as soon as it pressed its claw print, the trial would end. "I pressed it. Can I eat you now?" Zhongli put away the guarantee letter. "Of course not, I want to live." "Then I will eat the pigeon." The eagle monster threatened. Did this person still want to pass the trial? Zhongli presented the guarantee letter. "You have guaranteed it. You won't eat the pigeon again." The eagle monster's eyes widened. "The premise is that I ate you." The guarantee letter doesn't state this premise. It was only then that the eagle monster realized it had been fooled. Shang Bodhisattva folded her hands together and sighed with relief. "Fortunately, I did not let these two into our Buddhism." Chapter 371, The Eight Sufferings. The trials ended, with the hawk demon and the pigeon both picked up by the fragrant elephant bodhisattva. Among them, two hawk demons were crying especially sorrowfully, accusing humanity of cunning to the fragrant elephant bodhisattva and warning her that they ought not to be trusted. The fragrant elephant bodhisattva had no choice but to console the two hawk demons, telling them that they simply encountered an extreme case. The thought patterns of those two people were different from those of ordinary people, thus they shouldn't generalize based on a few special cases. Zhongli felt confident that he had proven his wisdom in the first two trials and was certain that he would be favored by Manjushri Bodhisattva's inheritance. Bai Hongtu felt that he had proven his talent for understanding human hearts in the first two trials, and was sure that he would be favored by the heart-understanding lineage. Mere quibbles over inheritance. We will obtain it as easily as reaching out to grasp it. Both men were full of complacency. Now let the third trial begin. There are 8 sufferings in life: birth, age, illness, death, parting from loved ones, resentment for the past, inability to obtain desired, and the inability to let go. Following this trial, all of you will forget everything and experience these 8 sufferings in a dream. A cultivator asked, "Then how should we judge right from wrong?" The fragrant elephant bodhisattva held the Buddha beads in her hand, with folded hands and closed eyes, revealing a serene smile. "In the face of the 8 sufferings of life, there is no right or wrong. This trial only wants to see how you respond to the 8 sufferings in life." She looked up at the sky and pronounced, "Please call on the Arhat of Sleep to perform the ritual." As the sentient being's secret realm responded to the fragrant elephant bodhisattva's invocation, a gracile image of the Arhat appeared in the sky, who was bare-chested, lying on his side, and his face was indistinct. As the image of the sleeping Arhat's chest rose and fell, the cultivators gradually became tired and fell into a dreamland. Yuan Wuxing slowly woke up. with his thoughts in a fog, and he had a feeling that he had forgotten something crucial. Where am I? Yuan Wuxing realized that he couldn't stretch his arms and legs, as if he was trapped in a cocoon. However, the cocoon was very comfortable, and there was a warm aura around him, nurturing his body. Primordial Qi, an unfamiliar term bobbed up in Yuan Wuxing's mind, one which he didn't even understand. From what I remember, primordial Qi is produced when a woman conceives a life. Thinking about this made Yuan Wuxing tired, and he drifted off to sleep, then woke up again after an unknown period of time. Wah! Yuan Wuxing broke into a loud cry. After his birth, the primordial Qi dissipated and disappeared. He stretched out his hand but could not grasp it no matter how hard he tried. The murky postnatal Qi enveloped Yuan Wuxing, making him uncomfortable and causing him to wail. As he gradually grew up, he got used to the postnatal Qi and forgot the wonderful experience of when he was still in the womb. In this world, mortals and immortals were split into two distinct realms. Immortal clans were high above and was an existence that mortals could only look up to. He was born into a rich and prestigious family, never having to worry about food or clothing. However, he was not satisfied with this alone. I've heard there are cultivators in this world who transcend the mundane. I want to cultivate. For some inexplicable reason, Yuan Wuxing yearned to cultivate. Perhaps it was because a life without material worries gave him other aspirations, or maybe he simply craved the feeling of becoming stronger, or maybe for some other obscure reason. An immortal clan's disciple tested Yuan Wuxing's spiritual root, and ruthlessly rejected him. 5 elements spiritual root, trash among the spiritual roots. Allowing you to cultivate is merely a waste of spiritual energy. Get lost. The disciple from the immortal clan kicked Yuan Wuxing down the mountain and closed the door, refusing to see any visitors. Yuan Wuxing didn't give up and went to other immortal clans, but the answers were always the same. Those with a 5 elements spiritual root are not qualified to cultivate. Even cultivators were gossiping from behind his back. No wonder your parents named you Yuan Wuxing. They probably knew from the moment you were born that you're nothing but trash with a 5 elements spiritual root. Yuan Wuxing was so furious that he started a fight with this cultivator. The cultivator made a casual move and severely injured Yuan Wuxing, leaving him to his fate. When Yuan Wuxing's parents learned about this, they braved the rain and climbed the mountain to bring Yuan Wuxing down. They hired the best doctor to treat his wounds, barely saving Yuan Wuxing's life. Yuan Wuxing's parents were already old, and they caught a severe cold from the night rain. They died, and Yuan Wuxing cried bitterly, regretting that he was so obsessed with cultivation and had spent too little time with his parents. Yuan Wuxing inherited the vast family business. He had an exceptional talent in business. Over the next decade, the family's fortune multiplied, and he became a famous wealthy man in the country. When one of the immortal clans learned of this, they descended from the mountain to tell Yuan Wuxing that if he was willing to distribute his wealth, accumulating merit, they guaranteed that he would be able to introduce qi into his body and become a cultivator. Considering my talent, how far could I go on the path to immortality? Your 5 elements spiritual root is a bottom-tier spiritual root. Even if you manage to introduce qi into your body, I fear you will only advance to the qi cultivation 3-layer stage in your lifetime. To move any further will be difficult. Yuan Wuxing was in a dilemma. He was unwilling to give up his family business, yet he didn't want to become a bottom-tier cultivator. Eventually, he gave up on cultivating and kept his vast family business. He couldn't let go of a life of wealth. Several decades passed and Yuan Wuxing fell seriously ill and was incurable. Even the immortal clan was helpless. Yuan Wuxing was tormented by the disease for 10 years, physically and mentally exhausted, but he managed to survive, albeit in a state worse than death, without his 5 senses. Much older now, he wanted to continue running his family business but was powerless to do so. His thinking was fragmented, and he made many wrong decisions and suffered heavy losses. Yuan Wuxing knew that it was because he had become old and muddled, and could not compare with his younger self. The Yuan family's current situation was mostly due to the wise decisions that Yuan Wuxing had made when he was young. However, he was old now and had lost the deterrent power he once had. An aged and decrepit Yuan Wuxing couldn't suppress those who were eyeing the Yuan family's assets. Fearing that the Yuan family assets would be divided by outsiders, the family members sidelined Yuan Wuxing and divided the family property amongst themselves first. In the end, Yuan Wuxing didn't even retain a single copper coin. Yuan Wuxing, penniless and blind, wandered the streets and eked out a miserable existence, waiting for death to come. I was born with nothing, and I'm dying with nothing. It's fine, Yuan Wuxing said mockingly to himself. As his life was drawing to an end, Yuan Wuxing's consciousness gradually faded. Having nothing, loss of senses, a hazy mind, Yuan Wuxing curled up into a ball, his current state gradually overlapping with the way he was when he was in the womb. 5 elements spiritual root, gold, wood, water, fire, earth, cultivating words that troubled him his whole life circled his mind and he started to reflect and enlighten himself. 5 elements, 5 colors, 5 elements, 5 colors. A nascent form of 5-colored divine light appeared on Yuan Wuxing's fingers. He lightly waved, and all the matter in the vicinity disappeared. This thought of the 5-colored divine light seemed to have depleted all of Yuan Wuxing's life energy, and he eventually died. Passers-by were surprised to see this down-and-out old man. His body had transformed into a rainbow of 5 colors and disappeared. Seeing this, the people around started to kneel and bow down. The fragrant elephant bodhisattva looked up, the will of the peacock Ming King lineage stirred, seemingly favoring a certain candidate. Looking at Yuan Wuxing following the flow of peacock Ming King's will, the fragrant elephant bodhisattva showed a surprised expression. In the 8 sufferings of life, Yuan Wuxing's performance in the first 7 was mediocre. However, when it came to death, instead of feeling pain, he achieved enlightenment. He even gained an understanding of the nascent form of the 5-colored divine light. Well done, well done. Chapter 372. The third test is not passed like this. Zhongli gave the sleeping arhat an opportunity to save face by sleeping in. Upon waking, he found himself in an atmosphere of tranquility. Where am I? Zhongli quickly realized that he was in a womb, surrounded by prenatal qi. Becoming a fetus had been a fascinating experience for Zhongli. Prenatal qi is a favorite among demon cultivators. They can extract it by refining pregnant women. Whether used for cultivation or weapon forging, it is top-notch. Therefore, during the heydays of demon cultivators, pregnant women were highly endangered. They often failed to give birth and risked their lives in the process. Later, as the ladder to immortality was severed, the demon cultivators were largely eradicated by the 9 provinces world, and this situation was curbed. Upon Zhongli's birth in the mortal world, the prenatal qi dissipated. Zhongli felt no pain, however. To him, the prenatal qi was too pure, its purity made him slightly uncomfortable. He found the postnatal qi much more comfortable. Similar to Yuan Wuxing, Zhongli was born into a wealthy mundane family. Despite the gap between mortals and immortals, he sought out immortality. He was ruthlessly told that he was a 5-element spiritual root, and cultivation would simply waste spiritual energy. The spiritual energy is infinite. Will my cultivation monopolize your use of it? The immortal beings thought Zhongli's question was too foolish to warrant a response and drove him away. After learning that he was a 5-element spiritual root, Zhongli didn't bother retesting with other immortals. He remained a 5-element spiritual root without letting it affect him. Son, don't try to become immortal, it's not your calling. Zhongli's parents tried to persuade him. He complied readily. Alright, I'll stop pursuing immortality. Zhongli's decisive answer surprised his parents. After giving up on immortality, Zhongli dedicated himself to studying business and martial arts before taking over the family business. His business acumen was far superior than Yuan Wuxing's. Under his management, he became the richest man in the kingdom, so wealthy that even the emperor treated him with respect. Some immortals descended to visit Zhongli, stating that if he dispersed his entire wealth to prove his sincerity in seeking immortality, they would help him draw energy into his body to become a qi cultivation cultivator, albeit merely at the 3rd layer. Zhongli turned down the offer without hesitation. The immortals assumed Zhongli was reluctant to let go of his wealth and that he was insincere in his quest for immortality. They shook their heads and left. Zhongli scoffed. During his rise to richness, he discovered that this world's immortals were just bunch of cultivators who hadn't even reached the nascent soul stage and were incapable of fasting. The immortals didn't contribute to the production. Their food supplies were entirely dependent on the mundane world. Besides, their enormous appetites imposed a heavy burden on the mundane world. Free meals without working, how can this possibly exist in the world? Immersed in whimsical ideas, the immortals often claimed that being closer to the heavens would easily induce a response from heavens. Therefore, they made the court build high platforms for them to cultivate on. The construction of high platforms was expensive and laborious and, disappointed that being closer to the heavens didn't enhance cultivation, the immortals left. Subsequently, the high platforms became desolate and unused. There were also instances of changing river courses and terrains to allegedly facilitate the circulation of spiritual energy. This idea was baseless and merely a product of the immortals' whimsical thoughts. Many similar incidents occurred. Zhongli looked down upon these immortals. They claimed to be distant from the mundane world, however, weren't they being fed by the mundane world? Zhongli expended his entire wealth to build an army and rebelled against the court, declaring himself the emperor. The immortals didn't care about who became the emperor as it had no effect on them. After securing the kingdom, Zhongli immediately cut off supplies to the immortals. He ignored any demands they made. If the immortals wanted anything, they either had to work, making agricultural rights succeed using rainfall spells or other techniques, or disclose their cultivation techniques. We, the cultivators, are destined to step into the immortal realm and live carefree lives. How could we be engaged in mundane labors like farming? As for disclosing their cultivation techniques, that was completely out of the question, it was their foundation precondition. Crude, then don't eat. Zhongli showed no mercy to the immortals. After all their cultivation, to end up at the mere nascent soul stage, they had the audacity to call themselves immortals. You snot-nosed brat, I don't mind switching to another emperor. Infuriated, an immortal, about to attack Zhongli, was punched hard by him and flung onto a palace pillar. What just happened? The immortal quickly noticed that Zhongli's chi and blood were bustling. His horrifying physical strength was on par with devils. This is martial arts. I'm presently at the external scenery stage. Zhongli stretched his body, ready for action. If they didn't see reason, don't blame him for resorting to violence. Despite his struggle with cultivation, he had extraordinary talent in martial arts, and had advanced it to a level comparable to the divinity transformation stage. Zhongli led the troops to pull down the haughty immortals from their self-built pedestals, thereby obliterating the so-called gap between immortals and mortals. Henceforth, if the immortals needed anything, they would first have to assist with farming and engage in production. The immortals were astonished to find that their mental states and cultivation levels were boosting during this process. To cultivate immortality is a process of entering and exiting the mundane world. You avoiding the world and deceiving yourselves and others halt your cultivation progress. The immortals showed deepest admiration for Zhongli. Zhongli, being at the external scenery stage, remained free from any disease and lived a long life. During his reign, the mortals and immortals integrated seamlessly. The number of cultivators greatly increased and the common people were assured of a stable food supply with the help of the cultivators. One day, Zhongli died peacefully with a smile on his face. This trial was meant for cultivators to experience life as a common person, to struggle through life's diverse hardships. Presumably, it would provide some new realization. However, Zhongli managed to unify the entire kingdom, and managed to tame the cultivators into submission. The 8 life miseries didn't affect Zhongli in the slightest. Shang Bodhisattva. This man must be Zhong, the human emperor. Shang Bodhisattva believed that except for Zhongli, no one else could have done this. Wait a moment, if he is Zhong, the human emperor, then who is the person beside him? Is it Bai Hongtu? Shang Bodhisattva looked at Bai Hongtu's dream, discovering that he dispersed his entire wealth to acquire a single cultivation technique, thereby entering the immortal realm. He artfully leverages relationships, gaining a human relationship achievement, simultaneously elevating his status and collecting resources. Hardly believing it, he managed to elevate himself to the peak of the nascent soul stage and become the most prestigious cultivator. It should be known that during this process Bai Hongtu had no external forces or memory of the transcendence tribulation stage, relying solely on his dexterous relationship and strong desire to climb the social ladder. I understand that both of you are formidable, but can you please experience at least one of the 8 life miseries? Unsure about how to evaluate Zhongli and Bai Hongtu, Shang Bodhisattva was stumped. Yes, they were formidable and no one could replicate their feats. However, here lay the issue. This challenge was designed to test the 8 life miseries. Neither of the two men's experiences were remotely related to the 8 life miseries. Chapter 373, Inheritance All Over the Sky, Choose at Will. The 3 trials ended, with most people performing average. Only a few, like Yuan Wuxing, managed to discern one hardship. Although the others didn't discern any of the hardships, experiencing a tragic life improved their outlooks. Some hidden legacies in the sentient being's secret realm swayed as if looking for a suitable candidate. Yuan Wuxing woke up from his sleep, unconsciously murmuring, "This place is real, so is the other side also real." He silently recited the heart clarity spell, thoroughly detaching his consciousness from the dream and recognizing that the JoJo world is the real world. So it was a dream. Only then did he realize that his 100 human lives were nothing but a dream. A peacock's cry echoed throughout the secret realm, and a pristinely radiant peacock landed before Yuan Wuxing, lightly pecked at his forehead. Is this the legacy of Peacock Ming Wang? Some well-informed practitioners were shocked. Peacock Ming Wang is most famous for the unrivaled five-colored divine light. Peacock Ming Wang's legacy is among the top in the sentient being's secret realm. But it's said that the five-colored divine light is very difficult to cultivate. Some people have spent decades without making any progress. Many practitioners, knowing this was Peacock Ming Wang's legacy, glared unfriendly at Yuan Wuxing. Yuan Wuxing was all too familiar with this look. Every time Qin Luan got something precious from the secret realm, people looked at him this way. Unbelievably, now it was his turn. The Buddha of Fragrance Elephant chanted a mantra. The Buddha helps those with affinity. These practitioners coveted treasures and forced alliances. Their minds were too inferior. No wonder no legacy favored them. However, the Buddha of Fragrance Elephant was not worried about Yuan Wuxing's safety. This benefactor was already in the middle stage of divinity transformation, and with terrifying strength, even those at the late stages of divinity transformation were no match for him. He would encounter no danger unless those from the body integration realm took action. Yuan Wuxing quickly scanned through the legacy and it all made sense to him. Joy swelled within him. Although I already received the cultivation method of five-colored divine light from Mr. Zhang in front of the sword tomb, the method given by Mr. Zhang was extremely difficult. Despite years of diligent cultivation, I only managed to grasp a little. Yuan Wuxing had always thought the five-colored divine light was that hard to cultivate, until today when he received the legacy of Peacock Ming Wang. If the inheritance given by Zhang was a booklet, then what he received today was like a dictionary. And the contents of the two were the same. Mr. Zhang simplified so many steps for me. Yuan Wuxing felt the legacy of Peacock Ming Wang was easy to cultivate successfully. Remembering his dream experience and letting his spiritual energy circulate slightly, a touch of five-colored divine light appeared on his fingertips. Zhang Li, watching this scene, shook his head. Several years had passed and Yuan Wuxing had only cultivated the five-colored divine light to this level. When I taught him the five-colored divine light, I wrote the cultivation steps so clearly. How could he learn so slowly? He himself had completely mastered the five-colored divine light in just half a month. Subsequently, a few others received their legacies, but they were from lesser-known bodhisattvas or arhats, far inferior to Yuan Wuxing. Wait, where's my Manjushri Bodhisattva's legacy? Zhang Li was surprised. He performed excellently in the 3 trials, how come the Manjushri's legacy didn't favor him? Bai Hongtu was also puzzled. His heart-understanding legacy did not find him either. The Buddha of Fragrance Elephant stopped Zhang Li and Bai Hongtu and sent the other people out of the secret realm. Human Emperor, Sect Master Bai, the Buddha of Fragrance Elephant saluted. The Buddha of Fragrance Elephant has good eyes. Even though we disguised ourselves as ordinary practitioners, we were still recognized. Bai Hongtu complimented. The Buddha of Fragrance Elephant. I'm practicing heavenly vision with my eyes closed, but that doesn't mean I've gone blind. Can the Buddha explain why no legacy has sought us? The Buddha of Fragrance Elephant thought, except that you two do not meet any legacy's requirements, what else could be the reason? However, as a monk, the Buddha of Fragrance Elephant does not lie. He answered, perhaps you two are extraordinary and have unique thoughts that exceed the requirements of the legacies. Do either of you have a specific legacy in mind? I can summon some of the legacies in the sentient being's secret realm. Bai Hongtu and I both want Manjushri's legacy. Can you call it out for us? The Buddha of Fragrance Elephant tried to summon the legacy of Manjushri Bodhisattva, but there was no response from the sky. The Buddha of Fragrance Elephant tried 3 times, and regretfully said, please excuse me, Human Emperor, I am unable to summon the legacy of Manjushri Bodhisattva. The sentient being's secret realm was created by a Buddha of great power in the immortal realm. As to which Buddha, we do not know, therefore we Buddhists cannot fully control the secret realm. Bai Hongtu was curious, so how can one fully control it? Only by thoroughly understanding the mysteries of Buddhist law, and being able to stand equal with that Buddha of great power in the immortal realm, can one control it. Zhang Li suddenly said, the legacy of Manjushri, can you show yourself? A faint light appeared in the sky of the secret realm, and the spectral image of a bodhisattva riding on a lion, crowned with 5 topknots, descended on a cloud before Zhang Li and took the form of a sword of wisdom. Is this the legacy of Manjushri? The Buddha of Fragrance Elephant was astonished. Despite her numerous attempts to call it didn't appear, but when Zhang Li casually said a sentence, the legacy revealed itself. Grasping the sword of wisdom, Zhang Li understood the contents of Manjushri Bodhisattva's legacy. There is no wisdom without cause, only continuous reading, gaining knowledge, and making proficient use of it, constitutes wisdom. This cultivation technique is interesting. The more books you read, the more things you know, the higher your cultivation level will be. The inheritance of Manjushri encourages Zhongli to read more books. Zhongli, uninterested, handed the sword of wisdom to Bai Hongtu. The Manjushri Bodhisattva legacy you want. Bai Hongtu thought internally, what's the use of this thing, getting stronger by reading books? So does reading books help me defeat Zhongli? Bai Hongtu can't openly express that he wants the legacy of his heart understanding. Zhongli has an understanding and softly says, other legacies can also manifest. No sooner had the words left his mouth, the entire sentient being's secret realm started to tremble, and endless golden light spread across the sky. The Buddha's breath was so thick it seemed material, it had weight. 18 Arhats Samantabhadra Bodhisattva Guanyin Bodhisattva Saitagarbha Bodhisattva Vajra Buddha Treasure Moonlight Buddha Immaculate Buddha. The Buddha of Fragrance Elephant uttered these thunderous names, and her throat went dry, forcing her to swallow. The legacies of countless Arhats, Bodhisattvas, and Buddhas presented themselves before Zhongli, available for his selection. Bai Hongtu also saw the legacy of the heart understanding that he desired. Are these all the legacies of the sentient being's secret realm? The Buddha of Fragrance Elephant thought she was dreaming. What she was witnessing overturned her understanding. There were too many legacies here that the Buddhist community did not control, and the legacies controlled by the Buddhists did not even make up half. How did you do it? The Buddha of Fragrance Elephant was too startled to be startled and regarded Zhongli as an extraordinary man. She had always believed Zhongli was a magical person. Zhongli said innocently, I just felt that I could call them out and tried casually. I did not expect to be successful. Chapter 374, Salvation for All Living Beings. Originally, Fragrant Elephant Bodhisattva thought that Zhongli failed to meet the requirements of the heritage, so no heritage was willing to notice him. Now she knew that these inheritances were clearly waiting for Zhongli to summon and select them. Sentient beings secret realm sentient beings secret realm sentient beings could it be that the true meaning of the sentient beings secret realm is to enlighten all sentient beings? As human Emperor Zhong, who cares for the world, guards the 9 states, defends against the invasion of the heavenly demons, makes the 9 states peaceful, reduces the disputes, actually practicing enlightening all sentient beings. Fragrant Elephant Bodhisattva woke up from her dream and finally understood the meaning of the sentient being's secret realm. Whether it's Buddhism or the successive human emperors, along with many other cultivators, they all have the heart to enlighten all sentient beings. But having the heart is not enough, the ability is also needed. And Zhongli possesses both, and he's doing quite well. The 9 states is now full of vitality, and Zhongli has made great contributions. Master Wu Ji was the first to notice the changes in the sentient being's secret realm and then informed all Arhats and Bodhisattvas to investigate the secret realm. Seeing this groundbreaking scene, they were all as surprised as Fragrant Elephant Bodhisattva. I apologize for visiting the secret realm unexpectedly, and hope Master Wu Ji understands. Master Zhong shouldn't say that. Master Wu Ji tried to ask Zhongli to donate these inheritances to Buddhism, and Zhongli agreed without hesitation, which made Master Wu Ji very happy and thankful. This secret realm should have been left by the Buddha. Brahma Tower suddenly remarked. Everyone turned their heads and stared at the Brahma Tower, they had never heard Brahma Tower mention it before. I may have misremembered. After all, my memory about what happened before I gained sentience is vague. Brahma Tower did not mention that he actually remembers that he was an immortal artifact refined by the Buddha. However, let's not talk further about this uncertain matter. Although the Brahma Tower's tone was unsure, everyone felt that the sentient being's secret realm might have truly been left by the Buddha. Because the inheritances of the sentient being's secret realm were too many, it seemed that all the Buddha's inheritances from the immortal realm could be found here, including even the heritage of the Buddha Shakyamuni. The amount of inheritances held by Buddhism multiplied instantly, causing Master Wu Ji, usually calm, to have an unstoppable smile on his face for several days. However, having the inheritances doesn't mean they can be freely cultivated. Buddhism emphasizes temperament. If one's temperament is not yet ready, cultivating the inheritances will only delay one's advancement. Bai Hongtu plans to secretly ask Wu Ji for a copy of his divine message. Defeating Zhongli is just a matter of time. After separating from Bai Hongtu, Zhongli settled the mission rewards. Rewards half-Jazi Buddhist cultivation, please accept. Zhongli held the so-called half-Jazi cultivation in his hand, slightly sensing the energy it contained. It can promote someone from the middle stage of the nascent soul to the divinity transformation stage. If there is no rush to upgrade, it can solidify the cultivation stage and elevate to the peak of the nascent soul. Without asking, Zhongli knew that the half-Jazi cultivator was not for the present him. Useless rewards. Zhongli dispersed the energy. Even a single root of a hair holds more energy than this. Reward immortal artifact golden lock armor, please accept. An extremely ornamental piece of golden armor appeared in Zhongli's hand. Golden lock armor. Wearing this armor can withstand 10 full-force attacks from cultivators at the same stage. Very impressive, Zhongli exclaimed. So far, he hasn't encountered anything that could withstand his full-force attack. This includes the initial emperor. Zhongli put on the lock armor and hit his chest lightly with the smallest force. There was a large gap in the armor. What a shoddy product. I knew the stuff from the system couldn't be trusted. Reward, establishment of the 3 Pure Land. Establishment of the 3 Pure Land. This is a great divine skills not passed on by the Tao sect. It's very difficult to cultivate and can temporarily bifurcate 2 avatars of the same cultivation status as oneself, enhancing combat effectiveness to an exceptional extent. Zhongli sneered at the reward. This thing is of no use to him. He had already learned the establishment of the 3 Pure Land. When the spiritual treasure reached sentience, he had used this divine skills. Even Bai Hongtu could learn divine skills, and Zhongli naturally could as well. Bai Hongtu often created avatars to play poker, which seemed like playing, but actually helped him extend the existence time of his avatars and increase his control over them. At least that's how Bai Hongtu explained it himself. Zhongli could use establishment of the 3 Pure Land repeatedly, creating 2 more avatars from the 2 avatars he split off, resulting in 4 avatars in total. In short, the 3 rewards didn't help Zhongli at all. As the human emperor free, it was Sword Monarch who contacted him. Just in time, what's the matter? I found a strange thing in the void. Since human emperor is knowledgeable and experienced, why don't you come and have a look? How did you get into the void, and how could there be anything in the void? Zhongli was confused. The void is very dangerous for those at the transcendence tribulation stage as their bodies cannot withstand the prolonged cutting of the void's turbulence. If even the body of the transcendence tribulation stage can't withstand it, what could possibly appear in the void? I felt that there is nothing in the 9 states world that can further enhance my sword Tao, so I went into the void to hone my sword intent. As for what I found, why don't human emperor come and see for himself, or else you'll think I'm fooling you. Zhongli nodded. Sword Monarch really was bold, risking his life for the sake of getting stronger. Following Sword Monarch's instructions, Zhongli sliced through space and arrived in the void. When he found Sword Monarch, his clothes had long been reduced to dust by the void, and his body was covered in wounds, but his sword intent did, indeed, improve. What did you find? As soon as Zhongli asked, he noticed the object behind Sword Monarch. It's a gigantic statue made up of many human bones, but only half of the statue remains now. Based on my judgment, the masters of these bones had a cultivation level at most at the divinity transformation stage during their lifetime. What surprised me was, divinity transformation stage cultivators can't survive in the void, how could their bones not be obliterated by the void? Zhongli remained silent, his face solemn. The statue was none other than the respected God Hidden. 10 years ago, he took Ji Kongkong to enter the secret place of the God Hidden cult. At the deepest part of the secret place was this respected God Hidden statue. Subsequently, the secret place exploded, and everything in it was scattered into the void. Zhongli remembered clearly that only this respected God-hidden statue was not annihilated by the void. But at that time Zhongli was only occupied with protecting Ji Kongkong and rushing back to the 9 states, so he didn't have time to check on the respected God-hidden statue's situation. Unexpectedly, they met again after so long a time, the respected God-hidden statue. Does human emperor know what this is? Sword Monarch was curious, seeing that only half of the statue of the respected God-hidden now remained. He saw Zhongli's expression and felt that he knew something. A nefarious artifact. Zhongli didn't elaborate, as he too didn't know why this statue was not affected by the void. This item is very durable. I tried cutting it with full force, and it didn't even leave a mark. Zhongli tried to snap off a bit and easily snapped off the foot of the statue. Zhongli commented, quite durable indeed. Sword Monarch. To avoid discouraging Sword Monarch, Zhongli explained, it's really quite hard. Although I didn't use much force, the strength I put in was enough to tear a heavenly demon to pieces. Chapter 375, The Solid Statue. Cough. Suddenly, the sword master spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. Zhongli immediately expressed concern, But the sword master waved a hand. It's nothing, just sustained an internal injury while refining my sword Dao in the void earlier. Let's continue studying this half of a statue. Why can't even my sword cut through this ordinary statue? What kind of power severed it? Zhongli definitely couldn't voice the words that worshipping the respected god hidden and killing people would earn merit. The immortal elder had once said that foreign heavenly demons have an unknown god, worshipping him would change the manner of obtaining faith. Combine the two, and it's easy to determine the respected god hidden as the faith or deity of the heavenly demons beyond. Greater than. Even a heavenly immortal great heavenly demon believes in and could send out merit. It was terrifying to think about the true form of the respected god hidden. It has nothing to do with the material. It's about the form of the statue. The original form of the statue is a terrifying figure. It's hard to judge its realm, but it's definitely above the heavenly immortal grade. I speculate that it's precisely because the original form of the statue is so powerful, with its image imprinted in the universe, a statue modeled after it would also get affected, becoming more difficult to destroy. But this is just my guess. As to whether it's true, I can't make any guarantees. Zhang Li's guess was very bold, yet somewhat reasonable. Legend has it that some beings are so powerful they stand in the river of time. Any strike from across the river of time aiming at their weaker selves would be killed. Legend has it that the names of some beings cannot be uttered, as they must sense it if uttered. Legend has it that some beings are immortal, without rebirth. Powerful beings often show their strength in extraordinary ways. The sword master fell silent, unable to imagine what level of existence could make the 10,000 realms acknowledge and protect its image. Perhaps only legendary figures like Tao ancestors or Buddha ancestors, giants in the immortal realm who can be referred to as ancestors, could do this. Unfortunately, the sword master did not know what these two giants looked like, otherwise, he would really like to strike the statue with his sword to find out the truth. As if having an idea, the sword master said, I do have a way to verify the human emperor's guess, but this method might be disrespectful. Feel free, you can try at will. With Zhang Li's permission, the sword master spat out his storage ring and pulled a tiny Zhang human emperor statue from inside. Sword intent flowed like autumn water, converging like a river that covered the sky, the immeasurable sword chi gathered into a narrow beam of light, illuminating the void. This sword strike could be deemed the sword master's strongest strike since entering the Transcendence Tribulation stage. The sword master brandished his sword towards the statue of Zhang human emperor. The statue of Zhang human emperor was unscathed and quietly floated in the void. The two looked at each other and both saw shock in each other's eyes, with the sword master being more startled. He began to regret his perseverance in staying in the sword tomb to deal with his heart demon, missing out on witnessing Zhang Li achieving the Mahayana realm. The sword master did not expect that there truly was a Mahayana realm in this world, and even more so that the Mahayana realm could be so terrifying. He just swung his sword with an experimental heart, not expecting the Zhang human emperor statue to be invincible, that his full power strike didn't even leave a white mark. Zhang Li also did not expect his statue to be so hard. After all, it was just an ordinary clay-made statue. Who in the 9 provinces world didn't set up the statue of Zhang Li, and no one has the idea of intentionally damaging the statue of Zhang human emperor, even if it accidentally fell to the ground without damage, it was just considered good luck, not that the statue was indestructible. After all, it's too unbelievable. Human emperor, your strength is also recognized by the 10,000 realms. It seems so. Isn't your reaction too calm? The sword master had always pursued the strongest. He asked himself that if he was as strong as Zhang Li, no, even if he only had 1/10 of his strength, he would not have this calm attitude. Zhang Li thought and felt that he should have some reaction, so he cleared his throat and said, the first thing I want to thank today are my opponents on the path of practice. Without their hard work and pressure on me, there would be no Zhang Li today, and secondly, I would like to thank the old human emperor's hard nurturing. Sword master. So, what force cut this statue in half? The sword master touched the half statue of respected god hidden and asked. Only the lower half of the respected god hidden statue remains, with an incredibly smooth cross-section with no fluctuations. Zhang Li thought for a moment and then cut the statue of the respected god hidden in half with a palm strike, dividing it into 2 thighs. The cross-section cut by Zhang Li was also extremely smooth. Probably only a heavenly immortal grade force could do this. Zhang Li could only estimate roughly. After all, he hadn't directly fought with a heavenly immortal before, his only experience was the battle with the red dust fairy. Could it be a battle between an immortal and a heavenly demon in the void, and the aftermath of the battle severed this statue? Very likely. From which direction did the statue drift? Although he didn't know how much time had passed, it was always worth trying. Maybe he could find the immortals or heavenly demons. There, the sword master pointed to a direction and then spat out another mouthful of blood. As soon as the blood left the body, it was torn apart by the void, forming a stark contrast with the intact statue of Zhang Human Emperor. I'm unwell and unable to accompany the Human Emperor in hunting for traces of immortals. Human Emperor, pardon me. Despite being severely injured by the void, the sword master's eyes were still shining. He had gained significantly from this time refining his sword Dao in the void. Sword master, please, just make sure not to talk about the statue. Zhang Li hoped that the fewer people who knew about respected God hidden the better, and from the beginning to end, he didn't tell the sword master the title of the statue. The void isn't suitable for Transcendence Tribulation stage to linger in. The sword master didn't know how long he had stayed before Zhang Li arrived. He is now at the end of his strength, staying for further would hurt his foundation. As soon as the sword master rushed back to the 9 provinces realm and left the void, his injuries healed rapidly. He returned to his sect and went into seclusion to comprehend. After fighting with other Transcendence Tribulation stage practitioners, the sword master felt the pressure. Li Yu, Bai Hongtu, and Yu Yin were all following generations, but their battle strengths could compete with his, even surpassing it in some areas. He found this very uncomfortable. Especially as Li Yu and Bai Hongtu had passed the tribulations to become immortals, their paths in the Transcendence Tribulation stage were further than his. Following the direction the sword master had pointed out, Zhang Li put away the statue of the respected god hidden and wandered alone in the void as it was named, pitch black without anything. All the way, Zhang Li saw no trace of a fight between immortals and heavenly demons. Am I not at the location yet, or is the direction wrong? The chaotic currents of the void were unpredictable. Perhaps the statue of the respected god hidden was blown back to the 9 provinces realm by several different directions of the chaotic currents of the void. If this was the case, it would be tough for Zhang Li to find the site of the battle. Feeling bored in the void, Zhang Li pulled out a book. Using his mana for protection, he read while flying. Zhang Li immersed himself in the book, finishing, the overbearing Mahayana fell in love with me, reborn 500 years, the Mahayana cultivator fell in love with me, and several other best-selling books, but still not finding traces of the battle. However, he found a new world. Zhang Li broke through the boundary and entered another world. Chapter 376, Summoning, Bai Hongtu. Zhang Li landed on a desolate planet and, giving his legs a push, hopped onto another planet. He was having fun bouncing between these planets until he finally found a continent. It seems that this is a continent world. There is no life on the planets. Zhang Li stands on a planet similar to the moon, from which he gazes at this continent. The size of the mainland is less than a tenth of the 9 provinces, but the mainland of the 9 provinces is quite large in the 10,000 realms. It would be bullying to compare 9 provinces, mainland with other continents. My God, there are people in the universe. At the headquarters of the Aerospace Bureau, a staff member screamed in surprise, unable to believe what he was seeing. The scene was projected on a big screen. Everyone involuntarily stopped their work and exclaimed in surprise, prompting a chatter. How can this be? He doesn't need to breathe, he's not afraid of radiation in the universe. Is he really a human being? The clothes he's wearing are so strange, like ancient attire. An alien, a deity. What they saw was an ancient man, free to wander the universe without a protective suit. This scene completely subverted their knowledge, and no one could answer their doubts. They were in charge of searching for extraterrestrial life, and now they have found one, but they look the same as they do. The director of the Aerospace Bureau rushed over when he heard the news, and his face turned pale when he saw Zhang Li on the big screen. Director, it's an alien. The first staff member who discovered it excitingly reported to the director, they will no longer bear the reputation of embezzling funds. Who let you project it on the big screen? The director was furious. How could aliens look like them? This is clearly a high-level superpower user using their superpower to operate in space. And it's an unregistered superpower user. The existence of superpower users is a secret, and the general staff is not allowed to know. The state believes that the disclosure of superpower users will disrupt order. For social stability, they try to hide the existence of superpower users, allowing them to live in the dark, keeping a low profile. To hold the position of director of the Aerospace Bureau, of course, he knows many secrets. He must be a space-type superpower user. The director knew that high-level spatial superpower users can freely control the surrounding space, and he thinks Zhang Li is precisely in this situation. As for relying on the physical body to traverse the universe, it's impossible. A superpower user's body is only stronger than ordinary people, far from reaching the level of traversing the universe with the flesh. Director, what's wrong? The director asked impatiently. He was thinking about how to cover this up. This alien is watching us. What? Zhang Li flies to the satellite and waves to the Aerospace Bureau through the camera. He seems very friendly to us. The director doesn't think so. He feels that this superpower user is showing off to the nation. He used his authority to censor this video, and he copied a copy and gave it to another department. The Superpower User Management Bureau. It is a violent agency established secretly by the state to manage superpower users. It contains talents and is full of experts. As an agency, the Superpower User Management Bureau holds a much higher status than the Aerospace Bureau. The director of the Aerospace Bureau went to the Superpower User Management Bureau in person, found someone in charge, and explained the situation. A space-type superpower user? Impossible. I'm the strongest spatial superpower user. Even if I could do this, I would not be as comfortable as him. Creating a space shield around oneself is easier said than done. To survive in the universe for a long period, you know how much oxygen is needed more than I do. The space for storing oxygen must be 30 cubic meters, and you still need to move the space with yourself, which is even more difficult. Zhang Li didn't know about the reactions from the people of this world while he was observing the satellite. The aerospace industry often represents a civilization's most advanced achievements. By examining the satellite, Zhang Li could easily judge the technology level of this world. It's almost the same as in my previous life. Transforming into a meteor, he lands on the ground and arrives in a seaside city, losing traces to the Aerospace Bureau. Zhang Li turned his clothes into the style of this world, large shorts, flowered shirts, and sunglasses, which matched the style of this seaside city. Zhang Li clicked his tongue. Being insensitive to temperature, he felt no sense of summer. People named the continent they live in as the Waigu continent. They're only one country on the continent. It seems like a peaceful world with no signs of invasion by the heavenly demons. We can't conclude too early. It could be that the heavenly demons have secretly arranged a plan and it evaded my divine sense. Zhang Li did not take it lightly. Heavenly demons always attacked covertly, acting deviously. Help! Someone stole my bag. A passerby shouted for help. The deep humming of a motorcycle engine resounded. The robber was riding a motorcycle, waving the newly stolen bag and whistling in show-off. A teenager sprang out from the crowd, his legs moving at a speed much faster than a regular person, catching up with the motorcycle. He grabbed the bag and returned it to its owner and disappeared before the owner could get a good look at him. Peng Lionhai went into a small alley, panting heavily. He still wasn't very good at using his enhancement power. Footsteps were heard from afar, coming closer, causing Peng Lionhai to be alert. Who's there? Don't be nervous, I'm not a bad person. The person who came was a beautiful woman. She introduced herself. I'm a member of a confidential department of the state. My name is Xiao Junyi. A confidential department? Peng Lionhai looked at Xiao Junyi skeptically. No matter how he looked at her, he couldn't find anything wrong. You should be a freshly awakened superpower user, and you're not familiar with using it. Superpower. Yes, your enhancement ability is one kind of superpower, which belongs to the enhancement type. You're not the only one, there are many other superpower users in the world, like me for example, I'm an illusion-type superpower user. So, I'm not the only one. Peng Lionhai felt a little disappointed after learning the truth. Xiao Junyi flicked a strand of hair behind her ear. I've been observing you for 2 months. After awakening your ability, instead of using it indiscriminately, you continue to help others, which shows that you are a good person. I would like to invite you to join our department now. Join our department. The monthly salary is 10 times the average salary of society. If you can make contributions or get promotions, your salary can be even higher. Peng Lionhai couldn't entirely believe Xiao Junyi's words. He cautiously replied, I'm taking the university entrance exams soon, can this matter wait until after my exams? Xiao Junyi laughed. Of course, we are always waiting for your joining. Enhancement type superpower, illusion type superpower. Interesting. Zhang Li smiled. He had already found this confidential department with his divine sense, which was the Superpower User Management Bureau, but this was the first time he had seen it in person. Zhang Li set up the formation, channeled the spiritual energy, and softly said, Summon, Bai Hongtu. Bai Hongtu appeared. Chapter 377. My superpower is invincible. Master Bai, here is the heart-stirring inheritance you requested. Where did you go? Wu Ji was confused. Bai Hongtu had asked him for the heart-stirring inheritance, and in the blink of an eye, he had disappeared. Bai Hongtu was utterly baffled to find himself summoned here. I help you decode the teleportation array, and this is how you repay me. In Lingxi world, Zhongli asked Bai Hongtu to decipher the teleportation array. Bai Hongtu quickly understood the principle of the array and taught it to Zhongli, empowering him to freely select who to teleport. This was significantly more effective than the blind box teleportation arrays of Lingxi world. Bai Hongtu just didn't expect that Zhongli would use the teleportation array on him right after learning it. Is this a new world? Bai Hongtu quickly shifted his attention to the Wei Jiu world. It seems pretty ordinary. The people here are generally weak and show no signs of having practiced any cultivation. Bai Hongtu had thought he would find something novel here. This world is called Wei Jiu world, where a very small proportion of people possess abilities known as superpowers. What are these superpowers? Bai Hongtu asked, intrigued. Extraordinary abilities. Bai Hongtu remembered Zhongli's explanation of what it took to reach the Mahayana realm, the stage that comes after the Transcendence Tribulation stage. Why don't you go back once more? Zhongli suggests. Why, I haven't compared the speed of time flow between this world and JoJo. Are you kidding me? Peng Lionhai has been somewhat lost recently. 3 months ago, he accidentally discovered he had a superpower. He has gradually figured out his capability, enhancing his body strength. Making his strength more powerful, his speed more agile, he covertly tested himself and found that his physical fitness was on par with national athletes. If it weren't for the upcoming college entrance examination in 3 months, he would have opted to become a sports student. With the college entrance examination imminent, he focused on studying, planning to explore his capability further after the test. Being an impatient youth, he couldn't resist occasionally using his power in secret. However, what Peng Lionhai didn't expect was that last night a woman claimed to have been watching him for 2 months and invited him to join an organization with a lucrative salary. Suspicious of the woman's strange behavior, Peng Lionhai didn't completely trust Xiao Junyi and used the college entrance examination as the excuse to decline her offer. With just several days left for the college entrance examination, Xiao Junyi's disruption left Peng Lionhai unable to focus on his exam preparation. So annoying. Peng Lionhai rubbed his temples in agitation. Too many things were crowding Peng Lionhai's mind, leaving him momentarily confused. He didn't want to worry his parents, so he didn't tell them about his superpower. Students, today we have 2 new classmates joining our class. Let's have them introduce themselves. The students in the classroom thought they had misheard. With the college entrance examination just days away, how could there be new students? Hello, everyone. My name is Bai Hongtu. I'm 18 years old, and I'm interested in metaphysical studies. Hello, everyone. My name is Zhongli. I'm 18 years old, and I like to maintain world peace. 2 clean-dressed youths with innocent gazes stood at the podium, especially the one named Bai Hongtu, who was almost excessively handsome. Zhongli was also quite handsome, but compared to Bai Hongtu, he seemed rather ordinary and appeared overshadowed. Peng Lionhai felt that the two seemed to be deliberately emphasizing their age. How strange. It must be a misunderstanding, right? The arrival of new students did not attract too much attention. With the college entrance examination just a few days away and everyone about to set out on their own paths, who had the mind to interact with these two? Even if Bai Hongtu was attractive enough to make many girls' hearts flutter. Peng Lionhai had no intention of paying attention to these two either. However, issues always find their way in. Hello, are you Peng Lionhai? During the break, the youth named Zhongli dragged over a chair and started a conversation with Peng Lionhai. Zhongli noticed that Peng Lionhai was perpetually in a strengthened state. From the contraction of his muscles, it was evident that his physical strength was at the peak of the qi cultivation stage. Peng Lionhai regarded the two strangers with uncertainty. You may have seen us for the first time, but I met you last night and the woman named Xiao Junyi. Zhongli revealed a mysterious smile. Who are you guys? Peng Lionhai jumped up, knocking over the stool. The loud sound drew the attention of the other students. Calm down, we're not bad people. Zhongli lightly placed his hand on Peng Lionhai's shoulder, signaling him to calm down. Peng Lionhai, who had always been confident in his strength, found Zhongli's grip surprisingly powerful, making it impossible for him to resist. Think about it, if we were bad people, we wouldn't be talking to you here in the classroom. What is your superpower? This question stumped Zhongli, who after a moment's thought replied, my superpower is invincibility. Bai Hongtu rolled his eyes at Zhongli. He had never seen such a shameless person. Bai Hongtu stated, my superpower is cultivation. Eventually, it allows me to become an immortal like the ones in mythological tales. The odd superpowers intrigued Peng Lionhai, and his intuition told him that their powers were stronger than his. What do you want from me? Despite knowing their superpowers, Peng Lionhai still could not completely trust them. We are two lonely souls with no one to rely on. We want to join an organization. But we feel that we are too weak and are susceptible to being bullied within the organization. Coincidentally yesterday, we saw you were invited to join an organization, so we thought of joining through you. Plus, it would be nice since we are all from the same batch, we can take care of each other. Bai Hongtu spoke convincingly and sincerely. Are you guys really weak? Bai Hongtu heaved a sigh. Of course, who dares to call themselves the strongest? It's true that our superpowers make us stronger than average people, but there are always those who are stronger. Two fists are no match for four. No matter how powerful one is, they can't resist the whole world. For example, his superpower is invincibility, but he was once poisoned and almost killed by a large bird, and was nearly beaten to death by two people. Zhang Li agreed and nodded along. He was poisoned at the golden core stage, killed by a golden-winged great peng bird at the nascent soul stage, and only a step away from death when he tried to stop two people engaged in a battle during the peak of the body integration realm. I see. Peng Lionhai, who had always exclusively lived on campus and had little contact with society, naively believed Bai Hongtu's words. Therefore, joining a reliable organization is vital to protect oneself. You also want to join that unnamed government department, don't you? Peng Lionhai nodded gently as he indeed had this intention. Originally, Zhang Li planned to directly approach the Superpower User Management Bureau and clarify everything, but Bai Hongtu insisted on them proceeding step by step. When Zhang Li asked him why, Bai Hongtu replied unabashedly, I'm just too idle. Since the current world was not on the brink of destruction, Zhang Li wasn't in a rush and indulged Bai Hongtu's tomfoolery. Zhang Li, too, was very idle. Chapter 378, The Principle of Superpowers. During the last self-study session in the evening, Peng Lionhai stood up and quietly left the classroom. He had been under a great deal of stress recently, often taking walks outside of school. The high walls and gates of the school were nothing more than a hop away for him. Last night, while returning someone's stolen wallet, he had been out taking a sneaky walk. Why are you guys following me? Peng Lionhai noticed Bai Hongtu and Zhang Li trailing behind him. Well, we're supposed to join the same organization, so we should act together. As the three of them strolled through the streets, Peng Lionhai curiously asked, how did you two awaken your special abilities? Bai Hongtu slipped into his memories. I was in dire straits, no help in sight, and barely managing to survive. Just at that critical moment, a sudden inspiration struck me and I understood something, which eventually led to the awakening of my immortal cultivation ability. Zhang Li said, at that time, I had put him in that dangerous situation and no one could save him. After he had awakened his cultivation ability and attempted to fight back, I awakened my invincible ability and subdued him just at the crucial moment. Peng Lionhai rolled his eyes, clearly not believing their stories. What do we eat? I'll treat. As they walked through the night market, Bai Hongtu generously offered to buy them food. He had used his stone-to-gold spell to obtain a good deal of money. If Bai Hongtu wanted, he could flood the market with gold at any time, unbalancing the monetary system. Of course, Zhang Li could also interrupt Bai Hongtu's actions anytime he wanted. Just when Peng Lionhai was about to politely decline and suggest what he wanted to eat, he noticed that Bai Hongtu was looking at something overhead. Peng Lionhai also looked up, but couldn't see anything. Zhang Li placed his finger on Peng Lionhai's forehead, and only then did Peng Lionhai see something above them. Several figures flashed past, chasing something. One of them was Xiao Junyi, whom they had seen yesterday. Why didn't I see them just now? Didn't she already mention it? Her ability is illusion. She put everyone nearby into an illusion earlier, making them unable to see her. So that's what happened. Peng Lionhai finally understood. He had unknowingly fallen into an illusion. So why weren't you two affected? And how could you help me break free from the illusion? Zhang Li gave a mysterious smile, because this is just the simplest form of illusionary path. Illusionary path? Zhang Li didn't say much. Let's go see what they are doing. Cultist, halt! The men shouted as they moved across the buildings, yelling at the cultist below. These cultists have a major conspiracy in Sea City. We must catch them. With the protection of illusions, the Superpower User Management Bureau operatives were no longer worried about being seen. They boldly released various powers. Fire Snake. One ability user released a serpentine flame, a fire ability user. Thunder Palm. A second ability user released lightning from his palm, a thunder ability user. The lightning and the serpentine flame fused together. The two abilities combined into a powerful serpentine thunder fire, crackling loudly. The cultist fled in embarrassment, barely evading the attack. "Stop," an ability user shouted, pointing at the cultist. A bead of sweat the size of a soybean appeared on his forehead. He was a psychic. The cultist paused for a moment, but quickly broke free from the restraint. "Damn it, this guy has too strong a will." The psychic cursed under his breath. He could only continue the chase after using his power. He needed several minutes intervals in between uses, otherwise, the burden would be too great, and his brain wouldn't be able to handle it. This is interesting. Illusionary path, spells, divine sense, all are familiar things. Zhongli and Bai Hongtu calmly followed behind, observing these ability users. They had roughly figured out the principle of super abilities. The 5 elements of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth give rise to everything, including time and space. This world might confirm the theory of the 5 elements creation. Bai Hongtu laughed. There were many theories about the creation of the world in immortal realm that Bai Hongtu was aware of. The 5 elements creation theory. The 4 elemental creation theory. The yin-yang creation theory. Among them, the most supporters are for the 5 elements creation theory and 4 elemental creation theory. At first, Bai Hongtu thought that the fire ability user and thunder ability user were fire attribute single spiritual root and thunder attribute single spiritual root respectively. Later, Bai Hongtu realized that they were 5 elements spiritual root. Bai Hongtu also discovered that several ability users were all 5 elements spiritual root, just that the 5 elements proportion differed. If the proportions are different, the things generated after combination will also be different. Some people generated fire, some generated illusions, and some could strengthen themselves. This is really interesting. Zhongli also showed an interested smile. But their combat power is too low, and their physical fitness isn't up to par. Their development is imbalanced. Bai Hongtu grumbled dissatisfiedly. The Qi cultivation stage and golden core stage cultivators in the immortal realm could do these things, and there were no restrictions. They could release fire with one hand, lightning with the other, and even illusions with their eyes. A cultivator was essentially a super ability user with multiple abilities. Although these ability users could use the spells of the foundation establishment stage and the golden core stage, their physical strength was only equivalent to the early stages of Qi cultivation, and they were very fragile. If put in their world, close quarters combat would render them unable to defeat even a small vendor selling candied haws. On the other hand, we could learn a thing or two from psychics, perhaps even enabling cultivators to start training their divine sense at an earlier stage. Bai Hongtu had always felt that unlocking divine sense at the nascent soul stage was too late. If they can research psychic abilities in depth, they might be able to develop a method for cultivators to train the divine sense during the Qi cultivation stage. It's not that the superpower users are weak, but these few people are weak. I've found several powerful superpower users using divine sense. How powerful! Their spells can compete with a divinity transformation stage cultivator. Are you sure you're not being too generous with your definition of powerful? I can't very well say that only those stronger than me are considered powerful. I get the feeling that you're showing off. I'm just stating the facts. While the two men conversed using their divine sense, they casually cast a strengthening spell on Peng Lionhai. Peng Lionhai felt a surge of strength welling up in his body. He didn't think too much about it and believed it to be an unusual burst of energy. He pushed off the ground energetically, jumping more than 30 meters. He soon caught up with the cultist. The cultist's body wasn't strong, and being caught by Peng Lionhai meant he had no choice but to withstand a beating. "It's you." Xiao Junyi and her teammates caught up and were surprised to find that the person who had helped them was Peng Lionhai. Xiao Junyi pulled out a needle and injected it into the cultist. The cultist immediately lost all strength and slumped to the ground. The other ability users tied him up and carted him off. "It seems you have high resistance to illusions. I can't believe my illusion didn't affect you." The people who become super ability users can always resist illusions to some extent, differing only in degree. Xiao Junyi assumed that Peng Lionhai had a high resistance. "Lionhai, you run so fast." Zhongli and Bai Hongtu arrived late, just wanting to introduce themselves. "Who are these two?" Xiao Junyi was taken aback. Ordinary people shouldn't be able to see her. Who were these two? She hadn't seen them when she was investigating Peng Heiliang. "These are my friends. This is Zhongli, his ability is being invincible, and this is Bai Hongtu, his ability is immortal cultivation." Upon hearing this, Xiao Junyi knew that these two were not formally trained and had randomly named their abilities. She scoffed at the thought of an invincible ability. Even if it were really invincible, could it blow up stars? Chapter 379, Defeat the Strong with the Weak. The existence of superpowers in the Wei-Ji world is as ancient as its civilization. Although superpowers are not publicly disclosed, throughout the long history, people have still figured out the system of superpowers and the types of superpower users. Xiao Junyi had never heard of superpowers called invincibility or cultivation to immortality. But she had encountered similar situations many times. For example, the pyrokinetic in their team, before he joined the department, groped about his superpower all by himself and even named it world-ending Red Lotus, often fantasizing that he lost control of his power and destroyed the world. And there was the electrokinetic who, before meeting other superpower users, named his superpower Dark Thunder, fantasizing that he was the embodiment of the heavenly tribulation, enacting punishment on behalf of the heavens. After they have systematically learned about superpowers, they beg their leaders every day to destroy the records of that period. Xiao Junyi thought that Zhang Li and Bai Hongtu fell into this category. "Sis, can the two of us join the organization?" Bai Hongtu leaned over, cheekily calling Xiao Junyi his sister, which was quite despised by Zhang Li. Does he really think he is still 18? The more Xiao Junyi looked at Bai Hongtu, the more pleasing he was to her eye. She thought this newcomer superpower user was quite handsome. But after all, she had undergone training and would not be swayed by his good looks. "I need to observe you two secretly for a week. If you pass, you will be allowed to join our department." Peng Lianhai, why was I observed for 2 months? And who would announce it if they were observing secretly? Who was the person caught by Lianhai? Why do you call him a cultist? Asked Zhang Li. That's classified. You two are not yet members of the organization, so I have nothing to say. Xiao Junyi refused to divulge the information. After getting a cold shoulder from Xiao Junyi, Zhang Li had no choice but to use his divine sense to scan the whole Sea City and found all the intelligence at the deepest part of the Sea City branch of the Superpower User Management Bureau. He knew even more than Xiao Junyi did. In summary, it was a group of people hopelessly longing to rule the world. A few days passed, and the college entrance examination arrived. Under the professional attitude of making a complete show, Bai Hongtu and Zhang Li also took the college entrance examination. Winner takes all. I've prepared for 7 days for today, I must get a good grade. Bai Hongtu vowed. He had wasted 7 days in leisure and could not afford to waste the last 2 days of exams. Hey, you dare to say you were preparing after playing for 7 days? Zhang Li scoffed with contempt. As long as it wasn't a test on Zhang Li's studies, he was not afraid of anyone when it came to studying. Although he too had played for 7 days. The two looked at each other, their competitive spirits high. What's so hard about exams? Zhang Li sat in his seat, his primordial spirit roaming the world in search of the college entrance examination paper answers. The exam answers were kept in the high-security vault. The primordial spirit of Zhang Li came to the door of the vault when he encountered an unexpected person. "Old Bai, what is your primordial spirit doing here?" Bai Hongtu's primordial spirit was startled, but he sighed in relief when he turned his head and saw it was just Zhang Li. He thought it was an invigilator. "Nothing much. The exam is too easy. I fell asleep and my primordial spirit slipped out accidentally. I didn't realize it and just floated here." Asked Bai Hongtu casually, "How about you? Why are you here?" "I'm just worried that someone might be peeking at the answers, so I came to patrol." Now that no one is peeking, I feel relieved. The two laughed heartily, knowing each other's intentions well. They returned their primordial spirits to their bodies and answered the questions honestly. Poetry appreciation, reading comprehension. The language comprehension questions are not difficult. It's just this final essay. Please write an 800-word essay on the topic, Overcoming the Strong by the Weak. Do not disclose personal information. Coincidentally, I have some insights on this topic. Bai Hongtu was delighted and wrote down the topic. On how the Transcendence Tribulation stage overcomes the Mahayana realm. It is well known that the Mahayana realm is one realm higher than the Transcendence Tribulation stage. Although not yet an immortal, it is as powerful as one. Its strength lies in its unwavering mindset, prodigious power, and its unpredictable tactics. Long-standing master of the Tao sect once said, "Knowledge is power." The Mahayana realm is not unbeatable. The great sect master of Tao sect once said, "There are 3 ways to defeat the Mahayana realm." While writing, Bai Hongtu didn't forget to quote famous sayings. Bai Hongtu was inspired as he wrote and managed to write 850 words. He couldn't make up any more. Please use Overcoming the Strong by the Weak as the topic. Zhang Li pondered a bit, then started to write his essay. How to cultivate to immortality. To overcome the strong by the weak, one must change from weak to strong. The quickest way to become stronger is through cultivation. The first step of cultivation is to channel qi into the body. Zhongli also dangerously managed to write 850 words, only writing up to how to become a qi cultivation stage cultivator. There weren't enough words left to write about the methods of cultivation at later stages. What a pity, it was only the language comprehension questions that gave them some difficulty. The subsequent math, chemistry, physics, and biology were no challenge at all. The answers to these questions were fixed. As long as one knew the calculation methods, the answers were evident. They had studied in the advanced Mingzhong world using their divine sense for some time, having already far surpassed the Wei Jiu world in their understanding of science. 2 days passed quickly. Both were in high spirits, feeling like they could become the unprecedented top scorers of the college entrance examination. How did your exams go? They asked Peng Lionhai. Peng Lionhai looked defeated. There were several questions I didn't know the answers to. While they were talking, a group of young girls with infatuations clutched their pink love letters, their lines that they had been rehearsing countless times ready, wanting to confess their love to Bai Hongtu. Of course, they had to go wild after the college entrance examination. However, someone came to Bai Hongtu first. A luxurious red sports car stopped by the roadside. Xiao Junyi got out of the car with a smile and came up to the three of them. How are you considering? Do you want to join our department? I've reported to the superiors. Considering your three's special situation, they said you guys can still go to university after becoming members of the department. Yes, Peng Lionhai answered without hesitation. The news that Xiao Junyi brought had completely relieved his worries. In that case, please get in the car. Xiao Junyi made a welcoming gesture. May I borrow your phone? Peng Lionhai asked to borrow Xiao Junyi's phone. Hello, Mum, we're throwing a gathering now that the college entrance examinations are over. I'll be out partying tonight and won't be coming home. No, I haven't found a girlfriend. I won't be staying over at a hotel. This phone, it's borrowed from a classmate. What, there's no caller ID, and you thought it was a scam call? No, this is my classmate's phone. Peng Lionhai looked at Xiao Junyi, puzzled. Xiao Junyi shrugged, we are a secret department after all, we need to keep some mystery. Xiao Junyi looked at Bai Hongtu and Zhongli with pity. What a pity, these two poor children lost their parents at such a young age. Xiao Junyi had looked through the two's files. Both of them were children born in an orphanage with a mundane upbringing. They only transferred to Peng Lionhai's school because it was not a good learning environment during their senior year of high school. Chapter 380, Testing the Supernatural Ability. This is Xiao's tower. Peng Lionhai didn't expect the sports car would stop in front of Xiao's tower. Xiao's corporation is the largest taxpayer in Sea City. Allegedly the chairman, Old Xiao, has amazing wealth and wields power in both political and underworld circles. Our department is the Superpower User Management Bureau. This is Sea City branch. The branch leader is my father, or as you guys would call, Old Xiao. Let's step out of the car. Peng Lionhai's mouth dropped wide open. Xiao Junyi seemed indifferent, not finding her identity to be anything remarkable. Xiao Junyi led the three of them onto an elevator at the base of the tower, which took a long time to descend to the bottom. People only know that Xiao's tower is the tallest building in Sea City, but they don't know that the basement of Xiao's tower is the deepest building. After my father became the branch leader, he transformed the basement into the Sea City branch office. Xiao Junyi said, sounding somewhat proud. Bai Hongtu nodded. I suppose a lot of taxes have been avoided, haven't they? Zhongli kicked Bai Hongtu, questioning his tactlessness. Zhongli tried to smooth things over. He means that such a big project must have been reported to the government. Feeling a bit suffocated, Xiao Junyi decided to keep quiet. She performed an identity verification, and then handed each of them a temporary access card. None of you have officially joined the Superpower User Management Bureau yet, nor are you proper members. Some areas are classified and off-limits. Make sure to follow me and not wander around. Peng Lionhai nodded obediently, while Bai Hongtu and Zhongli pretended to do so. The four of them came to a room bathed in soft light, where two superpowered individuals were seated. We need to verify your powers first. These two individuals' powers are truth detection, so if you lie, you'll have to deal with the consequences of lying, which may include possibly being barred from joining our department. Name, Peng Lionhai. Gender, male. What's your superpower? Body enhancing. An enhancer. The two superpowered individuals didn't sense any lie from Peng Lionhai and annotated, enhancer, in the superpower column. Name, Bai Hongtu. Gender. You decide. The two superpowered individuals really felt tempted to spitefully write female under Bai Hongtu's gender, but considering their professionalism, they could only grit their teeth and write male. Zhang Li interjected, you could always write gender unknown. The two superpowered individuals were momentarily enlightened. Just as they were about to put pen to paper, Bai Hongtu quickly claimed that he was a male. Superpower. Cultivation. The two superpowered individuals felt like there must have been a problem with their abilities. Their powers showed that Bai Hongtu was not lying. They jested to themselves that anyone would think cultivation could be a superpower. Can you specifically describe the characteristics of your ability? Cultivation involves several stages, namely Qi cultivation, foundation establishment, golden core, nascent soul, divinity transformation, merging, transcendence tribulation stage 1. I'm currently in the transcendence tribulation stage. During the transcendence tribulation stage, one can regenerate from a single drop of blood, release the primordial spirit without fear of yin qi, intuitively sense fortunes and calamities, turn disaster into fortune, and even use the stars as chess pieces. The two superpowered individuals concluded that Bai Hongtu was definitely suffering from a psychological disorder. Their power of validating genuineness didn't verify objective truth, but only verified the speaker's subjective perception of their truth. If the speaker believed what they said was true, then it was supposedly true. Superpower unknown, suspected psychological disorder. Name, Zhang Li. Gender, never mind, what's your superpower? Invincibility. The two superpowered individuals began to deeply doubt the accuracy of their own powers. Their own superpowers indicated that Zhang Li was telling the truth. They marked Zhang Li's power column as superpower unknown. After these two left, the two superpowered individuals tested their powers by shouting at each other, "You are a pig." Simultaneously, they both clutched their temples in pain. How come our powers worked perfectly fine until we applied them on those two? During the walk, Xiao Junyi kept looking back at Zhang Li and Bai Hongtu as if they were some kind of freaks. The four of them arrived at a spacious room filled with all sorts of strange apparatuses. This is the superpower testing area, where we can test the strength of your superpowers. Do superpowers have a level tier? Peng Heliong asked curiously. Yes, there are a total of 5 levels. Level 1 is the weakest while level 5 is the strongest. I myself am a level 2 illusion type superpowered individual. Let's test your superpower first. Xiao Junyi decided to test the simplest one, Peng Heliong, first. This is a 300 kilo barbell, try it. Peng Heliong lifted it with ease with only one hand. Now try the 500 kilo one. Xiao Junyi added 4 more weights. Peng Heliong still managed to lift it with relative ease. The current Peng Heliong was several times stronger than when he first discovered his superpower. 600 kilos, 700 kilos, 800 kilos. Finally, Peng Heliong managed to lift the fully loaded barbell, but clearly struggled. This is the strength of a level 2 enhancer. You managed to become one without anyone guiding you. Xiao Junyi was utterly astonished. This guy was a genius. According to her observation, Peng Heliong was a level 1 enhancer a little over 10 days ago. No, Xiao Junyi suddenly realized that Peng Heliong exhibited level 2 enhancer's abilities when he appeared that night to capture the cultist. Then Peng Heliong continued to test his speed, reaction time, explosive power etc., all of which were up to level 2 enhancer standards. Your cultivation ability, can you regenerate from a drop of blood? Of course, but it's hard to demonstrate since no one can beat me down to just a drop of blood. Zhang Li volunteered enthusiastically, I'll do it. Before Bai Hongtu could even let out a scream, Zhang Li had already punched him, leaving only a few drops of blood and some bits of flesh. The few drops of blood and flesh bits merged to quickly regenerate a body. Bai Hongtu was reborn. Hey, could you at least warn me beforehand? Didn't you say you can sense fortunes and calamities? Even the yin-yang heavenly seal ancestor can't detect your cause and effect, how can I sense the fortune and calamity you bring? Xiao Junyi was flabbergasted. She felt like she was stuck in an illusion. Even level 5 healers cannot do this. It's hard to demonstrate the ability to control the stars like chess pieces. Unless you have a planet that you dislike, I can help you crush it. Bai Hongtu was exceptionally generous. Zhang Li praised, quite generous, like a farmer offering guests to pick their own veggies. Bai Hongtu glared at Zhang Li angrily, frustrated that he couldn't think of a better analogy. I also know some spells, or rather, some fire-type and thunder-type stuff. Bai Hongtu extended his hand. His fingertips converged in terrifying energy. The thumb released a force that seemed to wipe out an entire army, the index finger burned with small cluster of intense white flame that distorted its surrounding space, middle finger pointed with frost gathering, the ring finger wreathed in raging thunder, and the little finger was folded, held close to the palm. Zhongli curiously asked, "Why no spell on your little finger? Can you fold the little finger while keeping the ring finger straight?" Bai Hongtu looked smug. It was actually quite a hard gesture to make. Xiao Junyi swallowed hard. Her instincts told her that the 4 powers released from Bai Hongtu's hand could easily cause Armageddon. What on earth is a cultivation superpower?